Chapter 465. I don't have money. Others bought them for me. Xiaoqin said, moreover, I don't have to spend money to explore the ancient ruins. I don't want to spend money. I'm convinced. Clayden sighed. We didn't get to know each other until we fought. Don't mind it too much. After all, that's how the martial arts world is. I know, but you promised me before and gave me all the spiritual jades. Isn't it inappropriate to invite others to cooperate with you? Xiaoqin was referring to the fact that Clayden had invited him to work together again without knowing that he was the person from before. Clayden was a little embarrassed. He looked at Xiaoqin and smiled bitterly. You should understand that I've never met you before and don't know your strength. Now that I have a better partner, I'm naturally tempted, but I won't do it again in the future. If it was someone else, Clayden would not have explained so much. How high was he? He was a half-step martial master. Although he had not officially stepped into the martial master level, he was not far from it. Now Xiaoqin was about the same level as him. It was probably only a matter of time before Xiaoqin stepped into the martial master level. He was already at stage 10 inner force at such a young age. His future must be limitless. I understand. Xiaoqin nodded. Then we'll meet again? I should go back now. Alright, keep in touch. Clayden nodded. Xiaoqin did not say much and left the alley in a flash. However, once he came out, he was at a loss. Tanjita had already left. He did not even have a car. He did not know where the Shin family's mansion was. Previously, when he got off the highway, he drove there under Shin Jingshuan's directions. But if he were to go back from here, he would not be able to go back. When he came here, he wanted to pretend to be polite to Tanjita, so he did not remember the way. He had no choice but to turn around and go back. Clayden had not left yet. He was sitting cross-legged while suppressing his injuries. When he saw Xiaoqin return, he was a little puzzled. Young friend, why are you back? Let me ask you something. You should be the local tyrant of Lan City, right? Tanjita and the others are afraid of you. Obviously they know you. You should also know where the Shin family is, right? Xiaoqin asked. Yes. The old man nodded. Then tell me the approximate location. I'll take a taxi back. Seeing that you're injured, I won't let you lead the way, said Xiaoqin. Take a taxi and tell him that even taxi drivers know about the Shin family's manor in the suburbs. The old man was a little speechless as he said, not only do people live in the Shin family's manor, it's also a green produce sales company that wholesales some high-end grains, fruits, and vegetables. So that's how it is. Then I'm leaving. Thank you, Xiaoqin said. No wonder when he went to the Shin family he felt that the exterior looked like a company. It turned out that it was really a company. After stopping a taxi, Xiaoqin found out the address of the Shin family's manor. Soon he returned to the Shin family. Tanjita was still there. When he saw Xiaoqin return, he gritted his teeth in anger. However, there was nothing he could do. He put on a fake smile and greeted him. White Fox, you're back? Yes, I'm back. Are you disappointed? Xiaoqin squinted his eyes and looked at Tanjita with a faint smile. How could I? Tanjita was a little embarrassed. White Fox, a straightforward person, doesn't beat around the bush. I won't give up. Up to you. Xiaoqin shook his head. By the way, you and that old man just now, what's your relationship? Tanjita asked tentatively. What? Xiaoqin was slightly moved. Do you know him? Of course I'm asking you, Tanjita said. Oh, just a good friend, Xiaoqin said lightly. Impossible. Tanjita immediately denied. Then he shook his head and said, forget it. You don't have to pretend since you don't know each other. The Zheng and Ma families have suffered such a big loss this time. They won't give up easily. I advise you to leave Lan City as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences will be hard to predict. Thank you for the reminder, Xiaoqin said. All right, I don't have time to waste with you. I'm going back to my room to rest. You. Tanjita clenched his fists. He hesitated for a moment and quickly walked to Shin Jingshuan's room. He had to take some measures. If one move didn't work, he still had a backup plan. Xiaoqin returned to his room. After thinking for a while, he decided to inform Shin Jingxian. Otherwise, she would be worried about him. However, when he knocked on the door, Xiaoqin was surprised to find that Shin Jingxian and her family were not there. Perhaps they went to see old Master Shin? Xiaoqin could only go back to his room to consolidate his strength. He used White Fox's phone number to send a message to Shin Jingxian, telling her that he had returned safely. In Shin Jingshuan's room in the Sihiyuan, Tan Muwei was also sitting on the sofa. She looked at Tanjita, who was chattering away. When he finally finished, she said, I didn't expect this White Fox to be a martial artist above stage 8 inner force. He's quite capable. What do you think, Jingquan? What can we do? Actually, there is a way. It's just that the old man hasn't closed his eyes yet. I can't enforce the authority of the Shin family's master. Shin Jingquan said. Why isn't this old thing dead yet? Didn't my dad drug him? Tan Jita said gloomily. Jita, don't talk nonsense. Tan Muwei immediately stopped him. However, Tan Jita didn't care. Anyway, no one here can hear it. It doesn't matter. Oh, about your second grandpa? Tan Muwei looked at Shin Jingquan and asked. Well, my second grandpa doesn't care much about the Shin family. I told him, but he didn't say that he would support me, nor did he say that he wouldn't support me. Shin Jingquan was a little helpless. It seems that the Shin family's affairs have nothing to do with him. Oh, today Tan Jita suddenly thought of something. He told Shin Jingquan about the tense scene at the entrance of the antique market and how Xiao Chen was taken away by the old man. Oh, is that true? Shin Jingquan couldn't help but frown after hearing it. Yes. Tan Jita nodded. Jing Qinghu and Ma Jinhan were there and their father. What's their relationship? Shin Jingquan thought for a moment and asked. I don't think so. I don't seem to know the white fox. I don't even know its name, Tan Jita said. That's good. But we really can't delay this matter. The white fox is the one who is hindering you. But if you can do something that will convince the Shin family, I will have a reason to betroth Shin Jingshan to you. Shin Jingquan said, now let's split up. Invite Jing Jiba and Ma Jinhan here. I will discuss with them how to deal with the white fox. As for you, find a way to invite Medicine Master Ji. As long as you contribute to the Shin family, I will forcefully betroth Shin Jingshan to you during the family meeting. No one can say anything. Because of your grandfather's affairs, the Shin family will hold a family meeting soon. Okay, I understand. I will call them now and then contact Medicine Master Ji. Tan Jita nodded and turned around to handle the matter. And at this moment, Shin Jingshuan's family was really in Shin Shanha's room. Shin Jinghao finally came to Shin Shanha's room after being summoned by Shin Shanha. This was the first time he saw Shin Shanha after returning home. Shin Jinghao was not allowed to enter before. Father. Although Shin Jinghao was a bit selfish, he was much kinder than Shin Jingquan and the others. At least he would not kill Shin Shanha. Jinghao, you're here. Shin Shanha nodded to him. Jingmao Jingshan, you're here too. Sit. Grandpa, how do you feel? Shin Jingshan asked worriedly. Didn't you find a medicine master for Grandpa? He might think of a way. You don't have to worry too much. Shin Shanha smiled. It was obvious that he had already accepted it. Dad, your illness. Shin Jinghao wanted to say something but stopped. He wanted to tell the truth, but he was afraid that his father would think that he was slandering them. So he didn't know whether he should say it or not. His father's impression of him was not very good. If he said it, would his father believe it? Looking at Shin Jinghao, who had something to say but did not know how to start, Shin Shanha smiled. I know what you want to say. My friend the white fox should have told you. That's right, I was poisoned, but it's hard to say who poisoned me. Dad, you know? Who else could it be? It must be big brother and second brother. Shin Jinghao said angrily. Jinghao, don't talk nonsense without evidence. Mind your own business. This time I called you here to let you look at the situation. If it doesn't work, take Jingshan and Jingmao away from the Shin family. This is a good thing for you. Otherwise, if you stay here and get ostracized, it may cause more trouble. Shin Shanha said, since I'm sick, my control over the Shin family has obviously declined. They don't listen to me anymore? Shin Jinghao was a little silent. Shin Shanha's words were very clear. Now that Shin Jingquan was in power, even he couldn't give orders. In other words, the competition for the position of the third-generation young master had become impossible. Well, I'm tired. You go back. I've said what I need to say. If you stay here for a long time, Jingquan and the others will be suspicious. Shin Shanha sighed and waved his hand. He was a little disheartened. Shin Jinghao nodded and stood up silently. He said, Dad, then you have a good rest. I'll leave first. With that, he left the room with Shin Jingshan and Shin Jingmao. In this situation, he really didn't know what to say. On the way back, Shin Jingmao couldn't help but say, Dad, actually Brother White Fox should have a way. You don't have to worry too much. At worst, I won't compete for the position of young master. We'll go back to Songning and establish our own family. That's the only way. I'm just a little unwilling. After so many years of hard work, it was destroyed by these crazy people. Shin Jinghao returned to the villa and sat there, feeling a little depressed. Chapter 466. Shin Jingshan and Shin Jingshan also went back to rest. Shin Jingshan received a message from Xiao Qin, but it was not appropriate for her to look for him. It was a sensitive time now and she was in the Shin family, so her hands and feet were tied. In the evening, Xiaoqin started to brew the medicinal liquid. Although the demonic stump fruit had to be used within 24 hours, the demonic stump fruit that had already been used for brewing medicine could last longer. Of course, this was only limited to soaking it with other medicinal herbs. If it was taken out, it would be useless. After taking the medicinal liquid, Xiaoqin began to consolidate his strength as a level 9 Qi refinement stage cultivator. As he was training, he was startled by the voice of the Elder Heaven Ancestor. "I got it," the Elder Heaven Ancestor said loudly. This scared Xiaoqin out of his wits. He was concentrating on training when he was so scared that he jumped 3 feet high and almost fell on the ground. "I say, God, people can scare people to death. Don't be like this, okay? Didn't I think of a way to cure that old man Shin? If you don't want to listen, then forget about it," the Elder Heaven Ancestor said with a sneaky smile. He didn't feel sorry for scaring Xiaoqin. I'll listen," Xiaoqin quickly said. "Actually, there is a way to cure him. If it was before, I wouldn't be sure. But now, you are a level 9 Qi refinement stage cultivator, and your primordial Qi is purer. It should not be a problem for you to cure the 2 poisons of Old Man Shin in one go," the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "Before, your strength was too low. I was afraid that you could only cure one of them or 1.5. Without the balance of the other poison, that old man would die in a matter of minutes." "In other words, it is possible now?" Xiaoqin was surprised and asked. "If Old Man Shin could be cured, then the problem of the Shin family could be solved." "You can, but you can't do it yourself," Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "You need help." "Anyone?" Xiaoqin asked. "Of course not," the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "There must be 2 pharmacists who are well versed in medicine and the meridians of the human body. They will assist you and help you suppress the 2 poisons. Don't release them all at once, release them gradually so that you can neutralize them. Otherwise, if you release them all at once and there is no one to suppress them, it will cause an imbalance between the 2 poisons. Old Man Shin's life will be in danger." "So troublesome?" Xiaoqin roughly understood the theory behind this and could not help but fall into deep thought. Among the apothecaries he knew, other than Apothecary Sun and Apothecary Tan, the only ones left were Apothecary Lu and Apothecary Qin. Apothecary Lu was probably the only one he had a good relationship with and whom he could invite. With these thoughts in mind, Xiaoqin dialed Hongzhu's number without any hesitation. "Why are you always looking for me at night? Don't you sleep?" Hongzhu picked up the phone and said with a sleepy tone. "You're sleeping so early?" Xiaoqin asked. "No, I'm taking a nap," Hongzhu said. Xiaoqin was speechless. "Alright, do me a favor. Do you have Medicine Master Lu's number? Give it to me, I have something to talk to him about." "I do." "What? You're looking for him and not me?" Hongzhu snorted. "I thought you were looking for me. Little brother Xiaoqin, can't you take the initiative to talk to me alone for once? You've hurt me. If you continue like this, I'll leave and you won't be able to see me for the rest of your life. Then, I'll look for you too. Help me investigate a person called Rich Ma." Xiaoqin said, "This person is the second in command of Lan City's Warriors Market. As his name suggests, he's very rich, but I don't know where his money comes from." "Oh, you've caused me trouble just by guessing," Hongzhu complained. "This seems to be your responsibility, right? The Hong Chamber of Commerce belongs to your family. If there's a parasite, it'll be your loss. You're not my wife, so why should I worry?" Xiaoqin said. "Then should I marry you?" Hongzhu asked. "Forget it, I don't dare to," Xiaoqin said. "Look at how scared you are." Hongzhu snorted and hung up the phone. "Wait, Medicine Master Lu's number?" Xiaoqin didn't know how he had offended Hongzhu. However, when Xiaoqin was about to call back, his cell phone received a message from Hongzhu. It was Medicine Master Lu's number. Xiaoqin couldn't help but smile and dialed Medicine Master Lu's number. "Xiaoqin." Medicine Master Lu picked up the phone and asked directly. Medicine Master Lu, you have my number?" Xiaoqin was a little surprised. "Yes, little Hongzhu told me," Medicine Master Lu said. "What's the matter? Is there something you need from me?" "There's indeed something I'd like to trouble you with. It's like this." Xiaoqin told Medicine Master Lu what he needed help with and then said, "Medicine Master Lu, can you help me find another Medicine Master to help me with you?" "No problem." Medicine Master Lu was a little shocked when he heard about the illness Xiaoqin had mentioned. 2 deadly poisons had been sealed in the damaged meridians by a freak combination of factors, and they had restrained each other without acting up. This was really unheard of. Moreover, even he couldn't think of a solution to such a difficult problem. How could Xiaoqin solve it? Medicine Master Lu thought to himself that his guess was right. Xiaoqin's attainments in pharmacology were likely to have surpassed his. Thinking of this, he immediately agreed. Are you at the Shin family in Lan City? Okay, I'll go there as soon as possible. Then I'll have to trouble you, Medicine Master Lu? Xiaoqin was a little surprised. He didn't expect Lu Fangzhen to agree so readily. After hanging up the phone, Xiaoqin breathed a sigh of relief. He said to the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Elder Heaven Ancestor, now that I'm at the 9th level of the Qi refinement stage, I should have some killer moves, right? Do I have any cool moves that are more powerful than those martial artists? Yes, but it's just an upgrade of the previous ability, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. It's still the same as before. Xiaoqin was a little disappointed. It seemed that the last few levels of the Qi refinement stage didn't add new abilities, but only expanded and upgraded the previous abilities. Well, it's still the same as before. If you don't want to know, I won't tell you, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But I don't know how to read it myself. Xiaoqin glanced at some of the information that the Elder Heaven Ancestor sent him before. It turned out that the ability of the 9th level of the Qi refinement stage was still the transformation of primordial Qi. However, it could transform some unconventional energy, which was different from the previous conventional energy transformation. It seems that there's nothing new? Xiaoqin said. I won't explain, of course there's nothing new, but if you don't want me to explain, then forget it, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Then, please explain. Xiaoqin had to beg for mercy. Beg me, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said proudly. Master, please teach me. Xiaoqin said gloomily. When you fight with others, you can use some simple moves of the cultivators such as the fireball technique, the water ball technique, the ice ball technique, the earth ball technique. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained. But, it doesn't seem to be useful, does it? Xiaoqin was surprised. In this case, the fireball technique seemed to be a bit useful, but for those martial artists, what could a fireball do? Xiaoqin remembered that demonic cultivators seemed to be able to use a similar move. At most, it was used to scare people. Even if it landed on their bodies, it would only burn a hole in their clothes. After all, these martial artists had strong physiques. Being burned by the fireball was nothing to them. They wouldn't even be scalded. It seemed like he already knew what Xiaoqin was thinking. In fact, the Elder Heaven Ancestor really knew. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with a smile, What you said are the conventional flames, of course the effect is not great, but I am talking about the unconventional flame transformation. Unconventional? Xiaoqin was a bit interested. Is it very powerful? Of course. The Elder Heaven Ancestor deliberately kept him in suspense. Xiaoqin, have you heard of the Samadhi True Fire? I have. Could it be? Xiaoqin was shocked. I can condense the Samadhi True Fire? I am just giving an example. In the cultivation world, the fireball you condense is not any weaker than the Samadhi True Fire. Some of the weaker martial artists, you only need to throw a true fireball technique at them, and they will be turned into ashes. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained. That bad asterisks? Xiaoqin was shocked. You have not seen those with great supernatural powers, but the tricks of the Qi refining stage are nothing. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, At this stage, if you use the fireball technique properly at most, you can seriously injure that old man called Clayton. Then why didn't you say so earlier? I wouldn't have fought him. Xiaoqin was a bit depressed. You always say that I am a busybody, so you have your own ideas. You can't die, so I am too lazy to say anything, the Elder Heaven Ancestor snorted. Xiaoqin knew that the Elder Heaven Ancestor was talking about the incident with Xin Jingxian, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Elder Heaven Ancestor, next time you are a busybody, I will not talk about you anymore. Okay, it depends on my mood. The Elder Heaven Ancestor was very proud, finally finding the feeling of being a master. After a quiet night, after Xiaoqin consolidated his strength, he wanted to test the true fireball technique, but this was someone else's territory, so it would not be good to set the house on fire, so Xiaoqin held back. The next morning, someone knocked on Xiaoqin's door. He walked out and saw that it was a disciple of the Shin family, and he hurriedly informed him, White Fox, the Shin family is holding a family meeting. Although you are a guest, we hope that you can participate. Family meeting? Xiaoqin was slightly taken aback. Although he was very curious as to why the Shin clan was holding a clan meeting at this time and who was the one who organized it, it was exactly what he wanted to attend. He nodded and said, All right, tell me where it is and when should I go? In a while you can go with Mr. Zhenghao, young Master Jingmao, and Miss Jingxian, the disciple said. Okay, I understand. Xiao Qin nodded, went back to wash up and quickly walked to Xin Jingshuan's villa. At this moment, Xin Jingxian had obviously also received the notice from the Xin family disciple. When she saw Xiao Qin coming, she nodded and said, "White Fox, you are here, let's go together." Xin Jinghao was frowning as if he had guessed something and was pacing back and forth in the room. Chapter 467. White Fox, you're here. Xin Jinghao stopped in his tracks when he saw Xiao Qin. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said anxiously, "I think Xin Jingquan will find a way to take control of the family today. Uncle Shen, don't worry too much. I'll act according to the circumstances. I won't let you guys suffer any losses." Xiao Qin comforted him. Actually, Xiao Qin didn't expect Xin Jingquan to be so fast. Could it be that they discovered something? In fact, it was because of this that Xin Jingquan was alerted by the meeting between Xiao Chen and Clayden yesterday. Especially when he knew that Xiao Chen's strength was probably above stage 8 inner force, it put a lot of pressure on Xin Jingquan. Therefore, he had no choice but to call a family meeting to confirm his position. Xiao Chen followed behind Xin Jinghao and held Xin Jingshuan's hand. Goddess Shen was a little nervous, but Xiao Chen gave her a strange sense of security. Xin Jingxian never dreamed that one day she would appear in the Xin family's courtyard holding Xiao Chen's hand. Sometimes life was really strange. She didn't like Xiao Chen at all, but now she loved him very much. Everyone walked into the Xin family's meeting hall. It was a huge building with a very spacious hall. There were no round tables like in a conference room, only chairs around. Obviously, everyone was sitting around and there was an empty space in the middle of the main seat. No one knew what it was for. The second son, Xin Jingxin, Su Luhua and their child, Xin Jingbing were already sitting in the meeting hall. Behind them were some relatives of the Xin family. However, these people had no say in the Xin family. Anyway, no matter who was in charge, they just wanted to get some benefits. Fighting for the position of the family head was the business of Xin Shanha's children, and had nothing to do with these relatives. The eldest son, Xin Jingquan, was the last to enter. To everyone's surprise, he was pushing a wheelchair, and the person in the wheelchair was Xin Shanha. Xin Shanha closed his eyes and seemed to be asleep. In fact, he was already disheartened and was waiting to be manipulated by Xin Jingquan. After all, his words were useless in the Xin family. He was a dying man and no one would listen to him. He pushed Xin Shanha to the empty space in front of the main seat. It turned out that this was where the wheelchair was. No wonder it was empty. Xiao Qin sat at the side and watched everything that was happening coldly. He wanted to see what this Xin Jingquan was going to do. Cough cough. Well, since everyone from the Xin family is here, let's get ready for the meeting. Xin Jingquan stood next to Xin Shanha, acting like the host of the meeting. Xin Jingquan stood next to Xin Shanha, looking like the host of the meeting. Xin Jingxin looked at Xin Jingquan with anger in his eyes. Xin Jingxuan's actions had disrupted his plan. His plan was not small. He was going to serve the old man and make him write a will or something. Although Xin Jingquan might not be useful, he could use it to wave the flag. At the very least, he could split the Xin family. But now, he had not done anything and Xin Jingquan was ready to force him to abdicate. He knew very well what Xin Jingquan wanted to do. At this time, he held a family meeting and pushed Xin Shanha out. That was to confirm his identity as the heir of the Xin family and make it an established fact. However, he could not oppose it. After all, Xin Jingquan was the eldest son. When Xin Shanha was seriously ill, it was normal for him to exercise the responsibility of the family head. Now, I would like to introduce a few guests here to witness this family meeting. Now, let's welcome President Gu of the Warrior Guild, Zheng Zhiba. Following Xin Jingxuan's words, Zheng Zhiba walked in, waved to everyone and sat next to Xin Shanha. Warrior Market's deputy shopkeeper, Mr. Ma Yuqian. Xin Jingquan continued to introduce. Ma Yuqian walked in and sat next to Xin Shanha with a smile. Warrior Market's chief pharmacist, Tan Muyo. As Xin Jingquan spoke, Tan Muyo also walked in. However, although he was the leader of the three, he was still one level lower than the other two, so he sat next to Ma Yuqian. Next, there is another mysterious guest. That is pharmacist Tan's son, Tan Jita. He was invited by my father. He is a top pharmacist, the chief pharmacist of the Warrior Market headquarters, Ji Yuliang. With a wave of Xin Jingxuan's hand, Tan Jita walked into the conference hall with a hale and hearty old man. The first three people were within everyone's expectations. After all, the three of them had a good relationship with Xin Jingquan. However, Medicine Master Ji was a little surprising. Was he really invited? To treat Xin Shanha? What if he was cured? Wouldn't Xin Jingquan have no chance? Xin Jingxin was also a little puzzled. He He believed that Shin Jingquan and Tan Muyo were in cahoots, but it was a little unrealistic to say that Pharmacist G was here to help. After all, Pharmacist G was a top pharmacist. There was no need to bring any bad stain on his reputation because of the Shin family. However, no matter what, Shin Jingquan's actions made those who did not know the truth look at him in a new light. They all praised him. After all, everyone felt that he did not want to be promoted, but to treat Grandpa Shin's illness. Pharmacist G's time is limited, so before the family meeting, I will take up some of everyone's time to let Pharmacist G treat my father. Does anyone have any objections? Shin Jingquan said. Naturally, no one had any objections. After all, old Master Shin was the master of the Shin family. Who would have any objections? Only a few children of the Shin family were fighting fiercely. Other than them, the others had no chance at all. Therefore, whether Shin Shanha was well or not had little to do with them. However, on the surface they had to applaud. All right, Pharmacist G, please treat my father. Seeing that no one objected, Shin Jingquan made an inviting gesture. It turned out that the other seat next to Shin Shanha was reserved for Pharmacist G. Pharmacist G nodded and walked over. He grasped the pulse on Shin Shanha's wrist and examined it carefully. Shin Shanha did not move. He did not even open his eyes. He was at Pharmacist G's mercy. Actually, Pharmacist G did not want to come today. He did not want to get involved in the internal strife of the Jinwu family. However, since Tan Muyo had invited him, he had to come. They were all colleagues and Tan Muyo's consultation fee was not low, so Pharmacist G still came. But after the examination, Pharmacist G felt that something was wrong. Shin Shanha's body had been poisoned by two kinds of poison? Tan Muyo could not examine it, but Pharmacist G could. He also discovered that the poison had accumulated in the injured area. If he was not careful, he would die from the poison. This kind of situation was simply incurable. Pharmacist G knew that this trip was probably in vain. Fortunately, the consultation fee was paid first. Whether or not Shin Shanha was cured, he would still be paid for this trip. However, Shin Shanha's situation made it impossible for him to tell the truth. Shin Shanha was poisoned, and it was two kinds of poison at that. If he said it, it would definitely cause an uproar. Pharmacist G could only sigh and shake his head. No, there's no other way. I can't treat his problem either. Forgive me for my limited ability, but I can only give up. With that, Pharmacist G got up and apologized to everyone. Then he sat down again. Sigh. It seems like there's really no other way. Shin Jingquan's face was full of grief. Everyone knows Pharmacist G's ability. Since Pharmacist G has said so. Sigh, for the development of the Shin family, we can only look forward. So, I think father is here, but with his condition he will definitely not be able to handle the affairs of the Shin family. Father, for the development of the Shin family, please appoint a successor to the Shin family. Shin Jingxin's eyes were about to burst into flames. So this was what they were waiting for. Even Pharmacist G couldn't treat him. This also showed everyone that Shin Shanha was completely hopeless. At this time, Shin Jingquan's words, which seemed to be for the sake of the Shin family, were not the slightest bit excessive. Instead, it would gain everyone's support. Sure enough, the relatives of the Shin family all nodded. They also understood what kind of person Pharmacist G was. If he said it was hopeless, then it was hopeless. If the Shin family didn't choose a person to take charge, who would they benefit from in the future? Shin Shanha slowly opened his eyes and looked at Shin Jingquan listlessly. He didn't know what to say. This was forcing him to abdicate. In this situation, if he still didn't make a decision, then everyone present would probably think that he was obsessed with power and refused to let go. He didn't care about the development and future of the Shin family. He was about to die. Why didn't he hurry up and appoint a successor? What was he waiting for? Moreover, with the lineup that Shin Jingquan had found, it seemed that he was the most filial. He was also the eldest son. If he let someone else be the head of the family, it would be a little biased. It wouldn't be justifiable. Seeing that Zheng Jiba, Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo were all sitting here, it was obvious that they were there to hold the fort for him. If he let someone else take over, it would be hard to say if there would be trouble. Thinking of this, Shin Shanha was disheartened. Forget it, if you want it, then take it. He didn't want to see the Shin family fall into internal strife. Passing the position to the eldest son of the Shin family, Shin Jingquan, was the best outcome. However, just as Shin Shanha was about to speak, he was interrupted by an indifferent voice. The one who spoke was Xiao Qin. Who said that Pharmacist G can't treat anyone else just because he said so? Xiao Qin knew that if he didn't stand up and waited for Shin Shanha to express his stance, then the matter would become a foregone conclusion. Therefore he had to stand up. However, he didn't know when pharmacist Lu would arrive, so he had to stop him first. What? Shen Jingxuan's eyebrows twitched. He looked at Xiao Chen with some embarrassment and said angrily, "White Fox, do you mean that your medical skills are better than pharmacist G's?" "That's hard to say." Xiao Chen said lightly, "I didn't say that. You said it yourself. But maybe it's a little better." Chapter 468. Ignorant fool, what did you say? You mean you can cure him? Medicine Master Ji had already lost some face when he couldn't cure Xin Shanhe's problem. Now that someone dared to question him, he stood up and shouted at Xiao Chen. He was the chief medicine master of the warrior guild. How honorable was his status. Now that he was being questioned by an unknown junior, it was a great humiliation. White Fox, don't interfere in other people's family matters. According to the warrior guild's rules, as a warrior, you can't interfere in other families' matters. Zheng Jiba spoke. Because of the old man's intervention yesterday, Zheng Jiba couldn't take care of Xiao Chen. He was still unhappy. Now that Xiao Chen had jumped out, how could he let him go? He was worried about not having a chance to deal with him. Really? Xiao Chen smiled. I'm Xin Jingshuan's boyfriend. How is this someone else's family matter? Is Jingshuan's grandfather not my grandfather? I see that you're an outsider sitting there. If I didn't know better, I would think that you're also a grandson of the Shen family. The current Xiao Chen was someone who could even injure Clayton. Xiao Chen was full of confidence and did not put Zheng Jiba in his eyes at all. Not to mention the fact that Zheng Jiba was only the vice president of the warrior guild. Even if he was the president, Xiao Chen would not care too much. White Fox, mind your status. You said that you're only Jingshuan's boyfriend, not her fiancé. Moreover, Jingshuan's marriage will be decided in a family meeting. I'll discuss this matter later. It's hard to say if you can still be Jingshuan's boyfriend. So, please sit down first. Shen Jingquan said coldly. Zheng Jiba was slandered by Xiao Chen as a grandson of the Shen family. Wasn't that the same generation as White Fox? He was furious. He pointed at Xiao Chen and was about to attack. However, at this moment, a disciple of the Shen family ran in hurriedly and said, Old Master Shen, acting Master Shen, there are two people, they want to come in. Who? Shen Jingquan was stunned. Where are they from? Don't they know that the Shen family is holding a family meeting? No visitors will be received for the time being. But, they are. Before the disciple could finish his words, two people had already entered from behind him. The sudden appearance of these two people caused everyone present to be somewhat stunned. Oh, who were they? However, most people didn't know him, but some did. For example, Xiao Chen, Shen Zhenghao, and the newcomers were none other than Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen. The two of them didn't say much and immediately took out their identities as the Hong Chamber of Commerce's chief pharmacist. How would the disciple dare to stop them? After all, they were super important figures. Hence, he hurriedly came to report their arrival, but before he could finish, they had already entered. Shen Zhenghao was excited. At this moment, he clenched his fists. Reversal, the situation had actually reversed. Initially, he did not have much hope, but now that he saw Xiao Chen step forward, followed by Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen, he was extremely excited. Perhaps his father's problem could really be cured, and Jing Mao would also have the chance to become the young patriarch. Who are you? How dare you barge into the Shen family's meeting room? How dare you disrespect the Shen family? Do you want to become enemies with the Shen family? Shen Jingquan shouted angrily. Become enemies? The Shen family is not worthy of becoming enemies with us. Medicine Master Lu looked at Shen Jingquan calmly. Although his voice wasn't loud, the confidence in it made people involuntarily revere him. Not worthy? Shen Jingquan was thoroughly enraged. He glared at the newcomer and said, I'd like to see who in Lan City dares to say such things to me. Chairman Zheng, do you know these two people? I wonder where these natives came from. How dare they act so pretentiously? I don't know them. Zheng Jiba smirked. Do you know them, Manager Ma? Shen Jingquan asked smugly. No. Ma Yuqian shook his head. Then do you know these two people, Medicine Master Tan? Are they very powerful people? Shen Jingquan continued to ask. I don't know them. Tan Muji was different from Medicine Master Sunday. Medicine Master Sun had only met Medicine Master Lu once, but Medicine Master Tan had never seen him before. Not every chief pharmacist of the Warriors Marketplace had the opportunity to meet Lu Fangzhen. Ahahaha. Medicine Master Ji, may I ask if you know these two experts? Shen Jingquan laughed heartily and turned to look at the fighting arena, where he considered the most distinguished guests. I think I know them. Apothecary G rubbed his eyes and looked at the two people in front of him in disbelief. As the chief apothecary of the Warriors Market headquarters, he naturally recognized Apothecary Lu and Apothecary Chen. They were the chief apothecary of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, and their ranks were even higher than his, a chief apothecary of the Warriors Market headquarters. However, why were they here? It was already a miracle that one of them had appeared here. Now that two of them had appeared together, he found it hard to believe. That was why he hadn't dared to confirm it for a long time. Little G is here too? Medicine Master Lu glanced at him and said faintly, "If I had known that you were here, I wouldn't have called myself Old Chen. Although your strength is lacking, it is enough to be Little White Fox's assistant." Gah. Medicine Master G finally confirmed that the two people in front of him were Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen. He ran over excitedly and said, "Medicine Master Lu, Medicine Master Chen, it's really you. Why are you here? I didn't even go out to welcome you." "Really? It's nothing. Isn't it because Little White Fox's girlfriend's grandfather is sick? We're here to help him treat her grandfather," Medicine Master Lu said. Medicine Master G's face turned red. Then his face was full of shock. What? Did Medicine Master Lu mean that he and Medicine Master Chen were here to help Little White Fox? What was going on? These two were top-notch pharmacists, but now they were going to help an unknown Little White Fox. He recalled how he had been so disdainful when Little White Fox had said that he had a way to treat him. Now even Medicine Master Lu was willing to help him. How good was this person's medical skills? Thinking of this, Medicine Master G's face turned red. He did not know what to say. He looked at Xiao Chen apologetically. He wanted to say something but did not know what to say. At that moment, Xiao Chen stood up and greeted them. "Old Man Lu, Old Man Chen, I didn't expect you to come so soon, especially Old Man Chen. Aren't you busy? I'm flattered that you're here too. Ha ha, Xiao. Little friend, long time no see." Old Man Chen laughed. "I'm just here to be a passerby." Medicine Master Tan was dumbfounded. He did not understand what was going on. What was going on? Why were these two people? Medicine Master Lu? Medicine Master Chen? Could it be the legendary chief pharmacist of the Hong Chamber of Commerce? Medicine Master Tan broke out in a cold sweat. It could not be. Were they really these two people? Judging from Medicine Master G's attitude, it should not be wrong. But how did they know Little White Fox? Moreover, they seemed to be very familiar with each other and were willing to help Little White Fox. What was going on? Shen Jingquan stood there with a stiff expression. He did not know what to say. He could tell who Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen were, so he did not dare to act rashly. Although the Hong Chamber of Commerce did not have the authority to directly manage the Shen family, it was better not to offend such big shots. If the Shen family was blacklisted by the Hong Chamber of Commerce, it would be beyond redemption. Shen Shanhe, who had been closing his eyes, suddenly opened them. A sharp glint flashed across his eyes. Even Medicine Master G was extremely respectful to these two people. Their identities were definitely not ordinary. And they were actually sent by the White Fox? Shen Shanhe, who had been disappointed, rekindled his hope. No one wanted to die if they could. He had not lived long enough. "Little White Fox, shall we start now?" Medicine Master Lu asked. "All right." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Then you and Old Man Chen will treat Grandpa Shen now. Medicine Master G, can you protect us?" Yes. Medicine Master G nodded quickly. He was willing to do anything. This Little White Fox turned out to be a powerful person. If he could build a good relationship with him, wouldn't it be the same as building a good relationship with Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen? In the future, if he had any questions, he could ask Medicine Master Lu directly. As for Little White Fox, he did not want to ask for advice. After all, he was not from the Hong Chamber of Commerce and had no time to take care of him. The reason why he asked Medicine Master G to protect him was that Xiao Chen was afraid that someone would cause trouble while he was treating Shen Shanhe. However, it should be impossible. No matter how these people tried to harm Shen Shanhe in the dark, it was only in public. If they really tried to harm him in the open, it would be insane. Who in the Shen family would support them? Therefore, in theory, no one would cause trouble. Xiao Chen walked to Shen Shanhe's side and sat in Medicine Master G's original seat. When Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen walked over, Zheng Ziba hesitated for a moment. In the end, he did not give up his seat to them. He was from the Warrior Guild, which was a different system from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. They could not control each other. Therefore, for the sake of his reputation, he chose to persist to the end. Anyway, even if he gave up his seat, the other party would not have a good impression of him. These people were Little White Fox's friends. If he wanted to deal with Little White Fox, he would eventually become their enemy. On the other hand, Medicine Master Ji quickly moved 2 chairs from nearby and placed them beside Shin Shanhe. Then he said, "Medicine Master Lu, Medicine Master Qin, please?" The 2 medicine masters nodded. After sitting down, they looked at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin said, "Medicine Master Lu, I believe you have already told Medicine Master Qin the method? Shall we begin now?" "Yes, let's begin." Medicine Master Lu nodded. Hence, Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin first examined Shin Shanhe's body. After a rough understanding, they began to suppress 1 poison each. As for Xiao Qin, he channeled his primordial qi into Shin Shanhe's body and began to treat the poison. Everyone present stared at them intently. Shen Jingxuan's expression was a little ugly. Something that was so close to success had been ruined just like that. Chapter 469. Although Medicine Master Lu glanced at Zheng Jiba for not giving up his seat, he did not say anything. Xiao Qin, on the other hand, was a little unhappy. This guy was quite arrogant, wasn't he? Why are you sitting so close to him? Are you trying to cause trouble? If anything goes wrong, you'll be responsible, right? Xiao Qin glared at Zheng Jiba. You. Zheng Jiba did not want to admit defeat, but Xiao Qin's accusation was too serious. He had no choice but to snort coldly and find a way out. "I'll stay away from you, lest you blame me if you can't cure him." Xiao Qin smiled slightly. He was actually afraid that Zheng Jiba would cause trouble if he was too close, so he pushed him away. When everything was done, Xiao Qin began to detoxify the poison. In fact, with the help of Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin, Xiao Qin's detoxification speed and efficiency had increased a lot. He did not need to exert any effort to suppress the toxicity. He only needed to detoxify it step by step. Then, he channeled the vitality produced after the detoxification into his own body. In fact, Xiao Qin benefited from treating others, but it was more energy-consuming and dangerous without help. Time ticked by. Everyone's attention was focused on Xiao Qin and the 2 apothecaries. Meanwhile, Apothecary Ji stood at the side with bright eyes. Although he couldn't understand what was happening, he could sense that the White Fox was in charge. He was secretly impressed, but at the same time he felt guilty for his rashness. Shen Jingquan stood at the side with an uncertain expression. He was so angry that he was about to explode. He had already done everything, but this White Fox was really good at stirring up trouble. She had actually invited Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin. If Shin Shanhe's illness was really cured, how was he going to carry out the next part of his plan? A strange look flashed in Shen Jingxin's eyes. From beginning to end, he did not say anything against it. Instead, he quietly watched the situation unfold. 2 to 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Qin took a deep breath. He had successfully neutralized the toxins in Shin Shanhe's body, allowing him to return to his previous state. As for the injury to Shin Shanhe's liver, he did not repair it. This was an old injury and it was impossible for him to repair it with his yuan qi. He had to use medicinal liquid to treat it, which was different from poison and new injuries. "Alright." Xiao Qin stood up and said to everyone present. Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin had obviously checked Shin Shanhe's condition and nodded in agreement. Shen Jingxuan's heart was about to explode at this moment, but he still forced himself to be calm and said in surprise, "Really? Is my father really cured?" In reality, his heart was bleeding. How could it be good? How could it be? Shin Shanhe's face was radiant at this moment. He directly stood up from his wheelchair, his gaze like a sharp knife, sweeping across the crowd. After a long while, he said, "This old man has escaped from death. This time I have to thank my little friend, White Fox. Today I announce that Jingxian is officially betrothed to the White Fox." The crowd was in an uproar, especially Tanjita. He clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and stared at the White Fox. He could not accept it. He absolutely could not accept it. However, Tan Muwei, who was beside him, patted him on the shoulder, telling him to be patient. There was still a chance. "Thank you, old Master Shin. Grandfather Shin, the White Fox will definitely treat Jingxian well," Xiao Qin said quickly. Shin Jingxian sat below, her face slightly red. She was also a little excited. He actually made the Shin family admit it. Xiao Qin had finally done it. In retrospect, the past few days were like a dream. Even she had a feeling that it was unreal. Everything was too fantastical. "Haha, congratulations, father. Father, you are old but strong. It seems that I should also retire to the second line. Father, you will still be at the helm of the Shin family." Shen Jingquan didn't want to see this White Fox's performance and immediately said against her will, But, Father, since the Shen family's clan meeting has already been held, shouldn't we take this opportunity to decide on the matter of the successor of the young master that we previously proposed? Anyway, it's not far from the end of the year. Huh? Shen Shanhe looked at Shen Jingquan with a hidden meaning, making him uncomfortable. He subconsciously wanted to dodge. In fact, he was still very afraid of Shen Shanhe. Previously, he was not afraid of Shen Shanhe's serious illness. But now Shen Shanhe had recovered. How could he not be afraid? That's right, Father. Big brother is right. This matter is imperative. If the family had a backbone this time, we wouldn't be in such a mess. Shen Jingxin also opened his mouth to speak. Shen Jingquan was a little surprised that he stood out. What was going on? Was Shen Jingbing also participating in the competition? But Shen Jingbing did not have an advantage. In terms of strength and contribution to the family, he was not as good as his son, Shen Jingtian. Zhenghao, what do you think? Shen Shanhe looked at Shen Zhenghao, who had been silent all this while. Dad, I have no objections. Shen Zhenghao took a deep breath. This was his chance, how could he reject it? Although he was happy for his father's recovery when it came to his own interests, he still had to fight for it. Moreover, this was not considered an unfilial matter. The Shen family had already decided on the direction. It was Shen Shanhe himself who proposed it. Now it was just a little earlier. All right, since no one has any objections, then we will take advantage of this meeting to determine the successor of the family. Shen Shanhe nodded. Before that, I would like to thank White Fox once again. Thank you to Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin. Thank you. I will remember your kindness. If there is anything you need me to do in the future, I will not hesitate. Don't mention it. We were also invited by White Fox. Medicine Master Lu cupped his fists and said, since there's nothing else, Old Qin and I will leave first. We still have things to settle. White Fox, let's go back and see you. All right, thank you Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Qin for your help. I really can't thank you enough. Xiao Qin also bowed and said, shall I send you off? No need, Xiaoji can send us off. Medicine Master Lu waved his hand. He knew that the atmosphere here was still tense. Xiao Qin wanted to help Shen Jingxian get promoted, but they had already achieved their goal. They could no longer stay here and interfere. As the pharmacists of the Hong Consortium, they could not forcefully interfere with other families' affairs. They could intimidate others, but it was a big taboo to give orders. After all, it had nothing to do with them. Moreover, it was against the Hong Consortium's internal rules. Businessmen should not get involved in those fights. It was not good for business. All right. Ji Yuliang quickly responded and followed them. This was a rare opportunity to get close to the two pharmacists. How could he let it go? He was pleasantly surprised. Everyone present had their own thoughts as they watched Apothecary LV, Apothecary Qin, and Apothecary Ji leave the conference hall. Shen Jingquan and Shen Jingxin were a little upset. They knew how powerful Apothecary LV and Apothecary Qin were, but they were unwilling to believe that the White Fox had a good relationship with them. When it came to their own interests, even if Shen Jingmao had White Fox's support, they would not back down. So what if the Hong Consortium was powerful? What did that have to do with the Shen family? The Shen family chose the young master themselves. What right did they have to interfere? All right, let's talk about the competition for the young master's position now. Shen Shanhe said slowly, according to the competitor's performance, strength, and contributions to the family, each of you will come on stage and tell your story. Then everyone will jointly choose the two most outstanding ones. I will personally assess and decide. All right, Father. Now let's invite the competitors to come on stage. They will all stand in front of everyone and tell their stories one by one. Shen Jingquan said. Sure. Shen Shanhe nodded. Good. Let's invite the outstanding third-generation descendants of the Shen family to come on stage. Shen Jingquan said loudly. At this time Shen Jingtian, Shen Jingbing and Shen Jingmao all came on stage. There was also a collateral relative of the Shen family called Shen Jingyan. He was also one of the more outstanding descendants of the third generation, but he knew that he was purely a bystander. With his background, it was impossible for him to become the young master of the Shen family. However, if he could come on stage and show his face, he would at least be the most outstanding among the collateral relatives of the Shen family. He would also be entrusted with important tasks and be in charge of some important business of the Shen family. That would also be very good. Therefore he did not hope to be promoted. He only hoped that everyone would know him. All right, let's start from Jingtan. Shen Shanhe nodded and looked at Shen Jingtian. There was no problem starting from the first branch. It was reasonable and the others could not say anything. Yes, Grandpa. Shen Jingtian cupped her fists and slowly began to talk about her glorious achievements. My current strength is already at the peak of Stage 7 inner force. Among the younger generation, although it can't be said to be too high, it's still not bad. This year, I completed 10 missions in the Warrior Guild and completed 8 of them, earning me points. Shen Jingtian talked non-stop about his ability. In fact, it was similar to a report. However, Shen Jingtian's ability was indeed not small. With just a few words, everyone present was amazed. It turned out that Shen Jingtian had broken through to the peak of Stage 7 internal force. Wasn't he only at Stage 7 internal force at the beginning of the year? He was already at the peak? What a rare genius. As for the missions at the Warrior Guild, everyone was even more amazed. 8 out of 10 missions were completed. The success rate was not low. Especially the points that were obtained were all contributed to the account of the Shen family. However, the last sentence shocked everyone present. But it also made some people clench their fists. Of course, what I want to talk about is actually the last thing. Compared to the last thing, what happened before is nothing at all. Shen Jingtian smiled and slowly said, I heard that second great-grandfather needed some medicinal herbs. Therefore, I asked around, and with the help of Kita and his master, Medicine Master Ji, I finally managed to get a batch of medicinal herbs from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. It was all the medicinal herbs that I needed. I bought them all and contributed them to second great-grandfather. I asked third Uncle Jinghao to help me with this matter. I think he is clear about it. Chapter 470. All the medicinal herbs? Bought them all? Everyone was shocked. This was too amazing, wasn't it? Even Shen Jingxin's eyes widened as he looked at Shen Jingtian with envy and jealousy. Why was he so lucky? Only Shen Jinghao clenched his fists. His eyes were about to spit fire. What did Shen Jingtian mean by buying them? He was the one who bought them with White Fox's help. How did it become Shen Jingtian's? He, Shen Jinghao, had become a helper? Shen Jingtian was too shameless, wasn't he? You're talking nonsense. At this moment, Shen Jingmao could not help but stand up. He glared at Shen Jingtian and said angrily, I was the one who bought those medicinal ingredients. I bought them with the help of Brother White Fox. How did they become yours? Jingmao, is it really okay for you to be like this? Shen Jingtian wasn't angry. He said calmly, back then I found the medicinal herbs and only asked you to help me buy them. How did you become the one who bought them? It's true that you bought them, but I was the one who asked my father to give you the money to buy them. You. Shen Jingmao was about to explode. This person's ability to distort black and white was at the peak of perfection. He was shameless to the extreme. How could he say something like that? However, after hearing this, Shen Jinghao's eyes darkened and he almost fainted. He thought more than Shen Jingmao. At this moment, he knew that he had been tricked. Back then, when he bought the medicinal herbs, he only contacted his brother, Shen Jingquan. After all, the family's funds were in Shen Jingquan's hands. He didn't think that Shen Jingquan would be so heartless. In the Shen family, it was normal for there to be competition. It depended on who was more capable. Shen Jinghao wasn't as capable as others, so he had no choice. He didn't put up any defenses and told his brother everything. His brother didn't say a word and transferred the money to him. He even said that he would remember it. Shen Jinghao didn't think much of it. Moreover, he specially reminded Shen Jingquan that other than his father, Shen Shanhe, he shouldn't tell anyone else. During the family meeting during the new year, he would let Shen Jingmao tell everyone. That way he would be able to shock everyone. But how could he be as shrewd as Shen Jingquan? It would have been better if he didn't say it, but Shen Jingtian said it first. However, he didn't have any evidence now. The money was indeed given by Shen Jingquan, but she said that he was only helping to buy. How was he going to explain that? Even if the White Fox were to prove it, would it be of any use? Would they believe it? Since White Fox is your son-in-law, he will naturally help you. Since there is no one else to prove it, he really can't say anything. Big Brother White Fox bought it for us. We were the ones who bought it. How can you steal the credit? Shen Jingmao retorted loudly, Big Brother White Fox can testify. Shen Jinghao looked at his excited son and couldn't help but sigh. His son was still too inexperienced. Since the other party had said it, he was naturally fully prepared. He wasn't afraid that he wouldn't admit it. Indeed, Shen Jingtian said indifferently, Jingmao, you and White Fox are relatives. Of course he will help you. If you bought it, why didn't you mention it before? Ask anyone in the Shen family. Is there anyone who knows? Did you buy it? You've done such a great deed, how could you not mention it? If you are such a person who does good things without leaving your name, why are you still competing for the position of the young patriarch? But you. Shen Jingmao was suddenly speechless. He really didn't know how to refute because he couldn't refute it. Yes, what the other party said was right. If he really did it, why didn't he say it? Shen Jinghao's veins were bulging. He was also angry. It was not easy to do such a big thing. Originally, he thought that as long as this matter was thrown out at the Shen family gathering during the new year, coupled with Shen Jingmao's outstanding performance at the Jingma summit in Songning, it was still very possible for him to win the position of the young patriarch. But now, everything was a bubble. The credit was completely taken away by others and he couldn't do anything about it. Jingmao, forget it. Shen Jinghao sighed helplessly. In the case of no evidence, it was not a good thing to continue to argue. It would only make Shen Shanhe look down on him even more. Grandpa, this is my contribution to the Shen family. Although some people slander me and want to take the credit from me, I have a clear conscience. Shen Jingtian said righteously. Also, I asked cousin Tanjita to invite Medicine Master Ji to treat Grandpa, but Medicine Master Ji did not treat Grandpa well, so I won't take the credit for myself. Shen Shanhe nodded without batting an eyelid. He did not seem to have any intention of intervening in the dispute between Shen Jingtian and Shen Jingmao, nor did he care about it. He just said, not bad, very good. Grandpa, I'll wait a moment. I have a supporter who hasn't arrived yet. Shen Jingbing said. Okay, then it's Jingmao. Shen Shanhe did not pester her, but directly called Shen Jingmao's name. I'm now a stage 5 inner force warrior. Although I lost at the Songning Righteous Devil Summit this year, I did not retreat. I was the one who asked Brother White Fox to buy those herbs. Shen Jingmao said this with a lack of confidence. It could not be helped. He never thought that Shen Jingtian would directly take the credit. He sighed and said, also Brother White Fox cured Grandpa's illness. What does White Fox curing Grandpa's illness have to do with you? Shen Jingtian said faintly, I say cousin Jingmao, are you addicted to snatching credit from others? I was the one who bought the herbs but you insisted that you bought them. And you said that White Fox cured Grandpa because of you? How does he have anything to do with you? He is my brother-in-law. Shen Jingmao said anxiously. Brother-in-law? I remember that Grandpa only betrothed Jingshen to him after he recovered, right? You've known him so early, haven't you? Isn't the logical sequence wrong? Shen Jingtian sneered. You. Shen Jingmao was a little angry. That's right, White Fox is the father who cured Grandpa. Although we are grateful, it has nothing to do with you. And Shen Jingquan paused and said, are you sure you want to have something to do with him? If you do, then you don't have to compete for the position of young master. You'll be kicked out. What do you mean? Shen Jingmao frowned and asked. White Fox, don't think that you'll let go of what happened yesterday. You're wearing a mask. I suspect that you're a fugitive wanted by the Warrior Guild. In a while, the experts from the Warrior Guild's law enforcement hall will arrive. When that time comes, you'll be arrested and put on trial. Zheng Jiba laughed heartily. I've already reported your matter to the Warrior Guild's headquarters. How could you do that? Brother White Fox is not a fugitive. Shen Jingmao said anxiously. Whether he is or not is not up to you to decide. When the people from the Warrior Guild's law enforcement hall arrive, they will naturally give him justice. Of course, that is under the condition that he is innocent. Zheng Jiba snorted coldly. Members of the Shen family, listen up. If you still want to have anything to do with this White Fox, then don't get implicated in the end. At this time, Shen Shanhe finally spoke. Vice President Zheng, this is the Shen family's clan meeting. If you do this, are you not giving face to the Shen family? I'm just doing my job. Although Zheng Jiba did not want to offend the local snake, the Shen family, he had never thought of offending the Shen family. This matter, he had discussed it with the Shen family's acting head, Shen Jingquan. Shen Jingquan had supported him and even hinted him to do so. But who would have thought that this White Fox would actually cure Shen Shanhe's problem and make Shen Shanhe incomparably healthy? Now that Shen Jingquan did not have the final say, he was in a dilemma. The people from the Warrior Guild's law enforcement hall had already said yesterday, why aren't they here yet? If they had arrived and taken the White Fox away, wouldn't this matter have been avoided? But before the people from the law enforcement hall arrived, he did not dare to deal with the White Fox on his own. The White Fox's strength was there for all to see. If he went up, he would be asking for a beating. Now that there was no other way, he could only bite the bullet and go all the way. He did not want to offend the Shen family, but the Warrior Guild was his immediate superior. If he offended the law enforcement hall, his good days would come to an end. After Shen Shanhe heard the words, doing my job, he did not say anything else. After all, with his ability, it was not enough to make the warrior guild change. He wanted to support the White Fox, but he did not have that ability. Alright Jingmao, calm down. Isn't it just the people from the law enforcement hall? It doesn't matter. Xiaoqun smiled. As he had already received Song Huawu's text message, he did not care about Zheng Jiba's threat at all. Shen Jingmao nodded and did not say anything else. But compared to this, his contribution to the Shen family was much smaller. It was basically equivalent to nothing. At most, he did not admit defeat at the Songning Righteous and Demonic Summit, but this was nothing compared to Shen Jingtian. Shen Jingyan, tell me about it. Shen Shanhe looked at Shen Jingyan and asked. Yes, Grandpa. Shen Jingyan hurriedly said respectfully, this year, I am in charge of the Shen family's agricultural business. We have doubled the scale of production from vegetable and grain cultivation to animal husbandry. Because our products are pure green and natural, the upper class and aristocratic families are in short supply. Even some rich businessmen have come to buy it. So this year, we have a conservative estimate of a total profit of 500 million yuan. Well, you have done a good job. In the future, the Shen family's business will depend on you to take care of it. Shen Shanhe knew that Shen Jingyan had no intention of competing for the position of the young master. He was just showing off. However, his talent was really good. Just the green food industry alone was managed so well by him. It should be known that this was the smallest business in the Shen family's company. It was classified as the development of a manor, but unexpectedly, it had become one of the most profitable enterprises. Chapter 471. Thank you, Grandpa. I will continue to work hard. Shen Jingyan nodded and said, as for the young master, I will leave it to the other brothers. I'm not capable enough, but I have some brains in business. I will assist the other brothers. Well, if that's the case, you can go back first. Shen Shanhe waved his hand, indicating that he could go back. Shen Jingyan respectfully excused himself and returned to his previous seat. Shen Shanhe looked at the remaining 3 disciples on the stage and said, next we will choose 2. Jingbing, the person you mentioned, is he not here yet? He should be here soon. Shen Jingbing looked at his watch and anxiously looked at the door of the conference hall. At this moment, the door of the conference hall was pushed open. However, the people who came in were obviously not the person Shen Jingbing was waiting for, but a few men in black. The disciples of the Shen family followed behind them with a bitter face. They did not dare to stop them until they came in and reported, Old Master, they are from the headquarters of the Warrior Guild. Vice President Zheng, I am from the Law Enforcement Hall of the Warrior Guild. Where is the person you mentioned who is suspected to be a wanted criminal of the Warrior Guild? The leader of these men in black walked in and asked Zheng Jiba directly with a formal expression. Hello. You're here. Zheng Jiba was surprised and happy when he heard the identity of these people. He quickly walked over and shook the leader's hand and said, thank you for the support of the headquarters. Well, let's not talk about this. Where is the person? The leader asked impatiently. He is there, the one wearing the mask. Zheng Jiba pointed to Xiaoqun not far away and said, Ga. When the leader saw clearly that the person sitting there was a white fox, his throat was like a duck's as he let out a startled cry. He looked at Xiaoqun, who was not far away, in shock. Hello Xiao, what's up? We meet again. Xiaoqun waved at Xiao Enz and greeted him. Xiao Enz wanted to die. How could it be him? If he knew that White Fox was here, he would not have come. Why did he come? To embarrass himself? Hadn't they lost enough face in Songning City? This Zheng Jiba didn't even make it clear. If he had said it was a white fox, he wouldn't have come. Great, now I've embarrassed myself once again. However, Zheng Jiba could not be blamed. How would he know that Xiao Enz knew the white fox? In order to make the identity of the white fox sound suspicious, he deliberately spoke vaguely, such as covering her face, not knowing her name, and acting sneakily. Xiao Enz had suffered greatly at the hands of the white fox. Coincidentally, the headquarters had given him a quest. To him it was a very simple quest, so he led his team over. It could be considered as completing a quest to answer to the guild's higher-ups. In the end, it was this fox mask again. Let's go. Xiao Enz gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to flare up. He immediately ordered his men to leave the Shen family's meeting room with him. Wait, don't go. What are they doing? Zheng Jiba was a little confused. Why did these people seem to know the white fox? He just took a look and left? However, Xiao Enz simply ignored Zheng Jiba and left quickly. He didn't even look back. Zheng Jiba had no choice but to return dejectedly. He felt like a clown. Just a moment ago he had warned everyone not to have anything to do with the White Fox. The White Fox would soon be investigated by the Law Enforcement Hall of the Warrior Guild. But now, the people from the Law Enforcement Hall had indeed come, but they left quickly. Even if Zheng Jiba didn't know the reason, he could understand that they didn't want to investigate the White Fox at all. They wouldn't care about this matter anymore. I say, Vice President Zheng, is this the person you found? I'm sorry, but I know this person. He wouldn't dare to arrest me. Xiaoqin smiled faintly. What else do you have up your sleeves? Zheng Jiba was a little annoyed. He turned to look at Ma Yuqian and gave him a look. Ma Yuqian immediately jumped out and said, I'll say it now. This White Fox beat up my son yesterday. So, if the Shin family wants to have anything to do with him, then don't blame me for saying it out loud. I won't do business with your family. Threats, naked threats. If one move didn't work, then another. Shin Shanha sighed. Initially he was quite happy that the White Fox easily resolved Zheng Jiba's conspiracy. But now Ma Yuqian jumped out again. Old Master Shin, if the Shin family chooses the White Fox's brother-in-law as the young master, then I'll leave. Ma Yuqian said lightly. Shin Shanha's face was very ugly. To be honest, he was actually very satisfied with Shin Jingmao. He was also prepared to keep Shin Jingmao here, but now, these people kept threatening him, forcing him to his wits' end. Did he dare to fall out with the Lan City Warriors Market? He didn't dare. Although Medicine Master Lu and Medicine Master Chen were from the Hong Chamber of Commerce's headquarters, they were only medicine masters. They could have face, but they couldn't order Ma Yuqian around. After all, the local Warriors Market had the right to do whatever they wanted as long as it didn't violate their interests. Ma Yuqian looked at Shin Shanha, Shin Jingmao, and the White Fox with a smug smile on his face. His expression seemed to say, it's over. Are you stupid? Are you out of ideas? However, at that moment the door to the conference hall was pushed open again. Behind it was another disciple with a bitter look on his face. Today the Shin family's guests were all super big shots. None of them dared to stop them. Is that so? Unfortunately, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. A pleasant female voice was heard, followed by light footsteps as she walked into the conference hall. Hongzhu. It was Hongzhu. Xiaoqin didn't even need to look. He only needed to hear her voice to know that it was her. She sounded a little unruly. Who are you? Ma Yuqian was stunned. Hong Yingwei, take him down and bring him back to headquarters for punishment. Hongzhu said indifferently, Ma Yuqian, you are suspected of embezzling the Ink Chamber of Commerce's public funds and using the Chamber of Commerce's resources for personal gain. Also, take that Medicine Master Tan back as well. Yes, Miss Hong. Several Hong Yingwei rushed forward and restrained Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo. At that moment, Ma Yuqian seemed to suddenly realize who the person in front of him was. It's you, Hongzhu. He didn't know that Hongzhu was Hong Ying. Furthermore, the Hong Yingwei did not address her by any other title. Instead he called her Miss Hong. Regardless, he knew that he was done for. Hongzhu was a direct descendant of the Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce. How good could it be for him to be captured by her? Ma Yuqian immediately slumped to the ground. He had heard of the terror of Hong Ying's Hong Yingwei team and knew that he definitely couldn't escape. He didn't even have the strength to resist. Tan Muyo was also dumbfounded. For a moment she simply couldn't accept this turn of events. Little Hongzhu, thank you, Xiaoqin said with a smile. This is also to help our Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce eliminate a scourge. You don't have to thank me. In that case I'll take my leave first. Hongzhu nodded at Xiaoqin. She also knew that it wasn't appropriate to speak with him in such a situation. All right. Xiaoqin nodded. Hongzhu came and left quickly, causing everyone present to be dumbfounded. They didn't expect that Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo would be taken away. What was going on? Who was that girl? She was so powerful that she could actually capture two people with just a few words? Could she be a higher-up of the Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce? However, no matter who it was, these people were all a little surprised. They had seen too many important people today, wave after wave. Tanjiro was currently staring blankly at his father being taken away. He still hadn't come to his senses. What was going on? Who was that girl? Shin Jingquan was also dumbfounded. Of his backers, one had been abandoned by the higher-ups, the Law Enforcement Hall, and the other two had been captured by the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Now he had to fight alone. It was not favorable for him at all. Zheng Jiba was also going crazy. He might as well go all out today and directly roared, I've made my words clear today. No matter who becomes the deputy manager of the Warriors Market, as long as White Fox is involved, I will obstruct him and prevent him from doing business with the Shin family. What's wrong with that? He felt that he himself had this domineering attitude which was quite domineering. Just like his name dominating the lost city. Oh, then you'll be soon. Xiao Qin said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the Shin family's conference hall was pushed open again. A woman walked in from outside and behind her were two men in black. The Shin family disciples also followed behind with bitter smiles on their faces, but still didn't dare to stop them. Obviously, the identity of this group of people wasn't ordinary. Zheng Jiba, right? I am Song Huowu, the deputy leader of Team C of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. We have received a request for assistance from the Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce. You are suspected of using your identity as the deputy chairman of the Lost City Warriors Guild to seek improper benefits with Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo. Come with us now. The person who came in was Song Huo. Previously, Xiao Qin had already received Hong Zhu's text message and knew that Song Huowu would also be coming today. Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo were from the Warriors Market, which meant that they were from the Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce. Hong Zhu could handle them, but Zheng Jiba was from the Warriors Guild, so Hong Zhu didn't have the authority to deal with him. Therefore Hong Zhu directly looked for Song Huo. In any case, it was official business and it also involved Xiao Qin, so Song Huowu naturally wouldn't refuse. What? Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Zheng Jiba fainted on the ground. The domineering attitude he had just displayed disappeared in an instant, and he became a weakling. Take him away. Song Huowu waved her hand, and two men in black rushed forward and carried Zheng Jiba out of the conference hall. Song Huowu cupped her fists at Xin Shanhe and said, My apologies for disturbing everyone. I also have a mission to complete, so I'll be leaving now. Everyone please continue. White Fox, I'll be leaving first. With that, Song Huowu didn't stay any longer and directly left the Shin family's conference hall. Chapter 472. Although what Song Huowu had said earlier was the truth, her last sentence revealed who she was here to support. Now, almost everyone knew that White Fox was not simple. Not only did he know the higher-ups of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, but he also knew the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Even the people from the Warrior Guild's Law Enforcement Hall could not do anything to him. How could such a person's background be simple? At that moment, Xin Jingquan finally realized that he had underestimated White Fox and thought that he was just a nobody. How powerful could Xin Jingquan's classmate be? Now it seemed that he had been wrong. This was a truly ruthless person. He was simply too ruthless. All right, let's continue with the family meeting. Xin Shanhe looked at White Fox meaningfully. He naturally understood that White Fox was doing all this to support Xin Jingmao. However, Xin Jingmao's current achievements were too few, and he could not be forced to take the position just because of White Fox's background. If that happened, the members of the Xin family would not be convinced. Although he was the head of the family, he did not have the ability to make the final decision. All right. Father, out of these three, who do you think should stay? Xin Jingquan asked carefully. Stay. Xin Jingbing, is the person you are waiting for not here yet? Xin Shanhe asked. If he still did not speak, Xin Shanhe would have no choice but to let him go first. It should be soon. As Xin Jingbing spoke, an old man walked briskly into the meeting hall. At that moment, all the members of the Xin family, including the guests, were stunned. They looked at the newcomer in astonishment, not knowing why he was here. This person was the second great-grandfather of the Xin family who was in seclusion, Xin Hongjian. Xin Shanhe was also a little surprised, wondering why his second uncle would come. However, he hurriedly stood up respectfully. All the members of the Xin family, including those who had been sitting, also stood up and looked at Xin Hongjian respectfully. Second great-grandfather. Xin Jingbing was very happy to see Xin Hongjian. He strode over and said, Second great-grandfather, I knew you would definitely come to support me. Xin Hongjian snorted through his nose but didn't comment. Behind Xin Hongjian was the disciple from the Xin family. However, he did not dare to stop this person. He did not even dare to ask because everyone in the Xin family knew that although Xin Shanhe was the head of the Xin family, Xin Hongjian was the true authority in the Xin family. Xin Jingbing's words, as well as Xin Hongjian's response, stunned all the Xin family disciples present, including Patriarch Xin Shanhe. Wasn't Xin Hongqian no longer involved in the affairs of the Xin family? Why did he suddenly appear in the Xin family's conference hall? Moreover, from what he said, it seemed that he was here to support Xin Jingbing. A smile flashed across Xin Jingxin's mouth. It's here, it's finally here. It's time to make the final decision. Previously, no matter how Xin Jingquan and Xin Jingtian performed or how they jumped up and down in Xin Jingxin's eyes, they were nothing more than clowns. And the second great-grandfather of the Xin family was his trump card, a weapon that could turn the situation around. Second uncle. Even Xin Shanhe stood respectfully to the side and greeted him. Xin Shanhe, as the head of the family, you are incompetent. As the head of the family, your control over the family is too weak. You didn't even know that you were poisoned. The Xin family is a disgrace in your hands. Xin Hongjin walked over and scolded him harshly. Xin Shanhe was stunned but did not dare to refute. He could only lower his head and mumble. Now he knew that Xin Hongjin had long known that he was poisoned. It was just that he could not solve the problem, so he did not say anything. Second uncle, you are right. Shanhe is no longer suitable to sit in the position of the head of the family. Therefore, this time, Shanhe plans to choose a young head of the family to gradually take over the position of the head of the Xin family, Xin Shanhe said with a sigh, knowing that he was in the wrong. Well, is there anyone who wants to choose? Xin Hongjian asked. Not yet, I'm choosing, Xin Shanhe said truthfully. Good. What stage are we at now? Xin Hongjian asked. Second great-grandfather, it's time for me to introduce myself. Xin Jingbing stood up excitedly and said, Second great-grandfather, can I start? Yes, you can start, Xin Hongjian said. At this moment, everyone present was a little confused about the relationship between Xin Hongjian and Xin Jingbing. These two people seemed to have an unknown connection. Xin Jingbing said that he was waiting for someone, but the person he was waiting for was Xin Hongjian. Could it be that the person that Xin Hongjian supported was actually Xin Jingbing? I'm now a stage 6 inner force martial artist. Although it's not as high as big brothers, I'm still young and have a lot of room for improvement. Xin Jingbing said, as for me, because I've been investigating grandfather's illness, I'm afraid that I haven't contributed much to the Xin family, but I have a clear conscience. After I found out that grandfather was sick, I immediately found a way to contact second great-grandfather and ask him to make a decision. Wow, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that Xin Jingbing had already contacted Xin Hongjian. No wonder Xin Hongjian wanted to support him. I told second great-grandfather about grandfather's situation, and second great-grandfather immediately came out of seclusion to treat grandfather. However, the result shocked me. Grandfather had actually been poisoned. Moreover, it was a very vicious poison. Xin Jingbing said loudly. Although many people already knew about this heavy news, there were also many people who didn't know about it. As soon as it was said, there was a sudden shock. Everyone was talking about who was so vicious as to poison Xin Shanhe. I won't say who the person who poisoned grandfather is. You know who it is. Xin Jingbing said firmly, but what I want to say is that I got the news from second great-grandfather as soon as possible and asked him to find a way to prolong grandfather's life even though we can't detoxify the poison. My parents and I take care of grandfather every day, hoping that he can live a little longer and stabilize the Xin family. We won't let those despicable people get their way. Xin Jingbing's words were filled with righteous indignation. Everyone present was very impressed. It turned out that Xin Jingbing was a very filial son. While others were fighting for power, his family was taking care of Xin Shanhe. As for the person who poisoned grandfather, according to Xin Jingbing, everyone present could immediately think of Xin Jingxuan's family. They were the only family that benefited the most after grandfather Xin collapsed. Although I don't have a nepotism like Xin Jingmao, I can use my sister to find someone to help grandfather detoxify the poison, but I did what I could, so I have a clear conscience. Xin Jingbing said. If it wasn't for Xin Jingxian, Xiaoqin wouldn't have bothered to argue with him, but he actually got Xin Jingxian involved. Xiaoqin was naturally unhappy. This was his goddess. How could he say it just because he wanted to? But, what's your name? Are you crazy? You have bad intentions. Xiaoqin said coldly. You. Xin Jingbing hated it when people called him a lunatic. It was an eternal pain in his heart. When he first came up with his name, he didn't think too much about it. His family wanted him to be quiet as ice, but there was nothing wrong with the name itself, but when it was combined with his surname, there was a problem. How am I harboring evil intentions? He could only give up on arguing about being crazy. Instead, he shouted and asked why Xiaoqin said he had bad intentions. You found out that grandfather Xin was poisoned, but you didn't tell anyone. If you didn't have bad intentions, what else could it be? You don't have a way, but it doesn't mean that others don't have a way. If you said it, maybe Jingmao would have already found me and cured grandfather Xin's problem. Moreover, it wouldn't have taken so much effort to invite 2 pharmacists over to help. I could have done it myself. Xiao Qin sneered. Do you still dare to say no? No. Xin Jingbing said angrily. Besides, I also thought of a way to buy time for grandfather. Moreover, this poison was done by Xin Jingtian's family. If I said it, I'm afraid they would kill me faster. Previously, Xin Jingbing was only hinting and didn't say who specifically poisoned him. But now, she directly said it, causing Xin Jingxuan's expression to instantly turn extremely ugly. He glared at Xin Jingbing, but with Xin Hongjian around, he didn't dare to deny it. Obviously, Xin Hongjian also knew the truth. He could only glare angrily to express his indignation. Moreover, Xin Jingquan also knew that he didn't have a chance. His son, Xin Jingtian, also didn't have a chance. With Xin Hongjian's appearance, his wishful thinking had already been shattered. Then you can tell Xin Jingmao or Uncle Xin Jinghao, right? He's definitely innocent. Who knows, he might be able to help you think of a way. Xiao Qin asked in return. Even second great-grandfather didn't have a way. How would I know he would have a way? It's already very impressive that I could think of buying time for him. Besides, delaying time will delay your treatment. Isn't it still not too late? This is also my credit. Xin Jingbing said angrily. Is that so? That old fart doesn't have a way but others don't have a way? Xiao Qin said coldly. Xiao Qin's words directly stunned the Xin family. He actually dared to say that Xin Hongjian was an old fart? This person was too awesome, wasn't he? Although they didn't know Xin Hongjian's strength before he went into seclusion, he was already at the peak of stage 10 inner force. Now his strength should be even higher. That white fox actually dared to say that he was an old fart. Was he courting death? However, to everyone's surprise, Xin Hongjian didn't refute it, nor did he make a move. Instead, he still stood at the side. No one knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Xiao Qin continued speaking. He didn't care that Xin Jingbing was dumbfounded. He directly said, Moreover, do you think I don't know? Your so-called delaying is just another type of poison in Grandpa Xin's body, causing the two poisons to entangle with each other. Thus, Grandpa Xin will die a little slower. The reason you're doing this is just to delay time. Then you'll serve him day and night, making people think that your family is filial. Then you'll pass the position of heir to the Xin family to you. Am I right? Chapter 473. You're slandering me? Xin Jingbing was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Xiao Qin's words had hit his sore spot, and he immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He turned to look at Xin Hongjian and said, Second great-grandfather, please seek justice for me. Also, this white fox has been disrespectful to you. Please chase him out. Chase him out of the Xin family. He's not slandering me. Isn't what he said the truth? Xin Hongjian said lightly, You poisoned him. Although it delayed him, it increased the difficulty of treatment. That's right. Besides, didn't you think so too? You wanted to delay Xin Shanhe's illness for a few days at all costs, to delay his death by a few days so that you could pretend to be filial and let him pass his position to you? Xin Jingbing stared blankly at Xin Hongjian. He did not understand why his second great-grandfather had suddenly gone crazy. Didn't he not object when he asked him to support him? If he did not deny the existence of such an expert, why would he change his mind at the last minute? Hello, Clayton, we meet again. Your family is really messy. Xiao Qin waved at Xin Hongjian. You old fart, no wonder you didn't dare to tell me you were from the Xin family when I asked you where the Xin family was. So this is the reason. Xin Hongjian was a little embarrassed. He was indeed Clayton. And Clayton was just a code name he came up with for the warrior guild. He had studied abroad when he was young, and his name was similar to the main character in Fortress Besieged. Even their experiences were similar. He was a martial arts fanatic. How was it studying abroad? He just wanted to see what foreign martial artists were like. He was busy practicing martial arts all day long and did not study at all. In the end, he only came back with a fake diploma. As a result, he gave himself the name Clayton, and that was how he came to be. Cough cough. Young friend, you and I are about the same. If you call me an old fart again, I won't be polite to you. Xin Hongjian coughed twice and said. Xin Jingbing was dumbfounded. He had completely turned into a lunatic. He widened his eyes and pointed at the white fox in disbelief. You know each other? Impossible. This is impossible. I was supposed to win. You bastard. If you didn't come and ruin things, I would be the head of the Xin family. I can't accept this, I can't accept this, why yeah. Extreme joy begets sorrow. He had always felt that he was the biggest winner, but now, he suddenly fell from the sky to the mortal world. This feeling of being on a roller coaster made him go crazy. Previously, regardless of whether Shin Shanha's illness was cured or not, as long as Shin Hongjian stood up for him when the time came, everything would be fleeting. No matter how powerful Shin Jingquan was, he would still have to listen to Shin Hongjian. Because his strength was there, his identity was there. No matter how much Shin Jingquan jumped, it was all for naught. But how could he not have foreseen the white fox accident? Previously, when he saw the white fox make Shin Jingxuan's family suffer a setback, he was quite happy. It didn't take much effort to suppress the first branch. But now the other party was definitely coming to deal with him. Alright, in the end, this young master is still the Shin family's matter. It's not good for an outsider like me to participate. It's just that if the matter with Jing Mao isn't resolved, I might have to stay in Lan City for a period of time. It might delay some other matters. Xiao Chen had a, you know what I mean, expression on his face. Shin Hongjian was a little speechless. But to be honest, whichever of the younger generation of the Shin family became the young master had little to do with him. He wasn't keen on power. Previously, when Shin Jingbing looked for him, he naturally knew what Shin Jingbing was thinking. However, he felt that Shin Jingbing was quite smart. He was just a little sinister, but at least he wasn't as bad as the first branch. Being sinister was different from being bad. Shin Jingxuan's poisoning was already devoid of conscience. But now, with the white fox's involvement, Shin Hongjian could no longer support Shin Jingbing. He could only say, I think that Shin Jinghao's son, Shin Jingmao, has a noble character and is young and promising. At the righteous and demonic summit in Songning, even though his strength is low, he didn't back down. He's a good seedling and even helped me search for medicinal herbs from the white fox. His filial piety is commendable. Shin Shanha, why don't we let him be the young master? Sure. How could Shin Shanha dare to say no? Shin Hongjian had already made it so clear that he couldn't refute it even if he wanted to. Moreover, the person he liked was Shin Jingmao. Shin Jingtian was dumbfounded. He didn't know that second great-grandfather actually knew the white fox. Then wouldn't his previous bragging be exposed in an instant? At that time, would second great-grandfather believe him or the white fox? It went without saying. Since the white fox dared to call Shin Hongjian an old fart, one could imagine how good their relationship was. Moreover, even Shin Hongjian said that their strength was about the same. Then what level of expert was this white fox? Could it be that he was also a martial artist level 10 great perfection? Since that's the case, I hereby announce that Shin Jingmao is the young master of the Shin family. Shin Shanha, don't retire yet. Assist him for a few years and let him inherit the family business smoothly. Shin Hongjian said, if anyone is dissatisfied, you can tell me. Alright. Shin Shanha hurriedly nodded. Dissatisfied? Who would dare to be dissatisfied? Hearing Shin Hongjian's words, be it Shin Jingquan or Shin Jingxin, they both shrunk their necks. If they were dissatisfied, they would be courting death. Shin Hongjian was the true decision-maker of the Shin family. Even if he killed a descendant of the Shin family, there would be no one to reason with. These ancient martial arts clans all retain the style of the clan patriarchal system. Even if they killed their descendants, the Martial Arts Guild and the Supernatural Investigation Bureau would not find trouble with them. That was only an internal matter. No matter how much trouble they caused, as long as they did not interfere with other clans and sects, it would not matter. Well, Clayton, you look quite old, but you're not muddle-headed. Alright, I'll be free after this matter is settled, Xiao Qin said with a smile. Shin Hongjian snorted coldly, clearly displeased with Xiao Chen's shameless behavior. He said, Alright, children of the Shin family, go do what you need to do. From today onwards, the first branch, Shin Jingquan, and his family are chased out of the Shin family and are not allowed to return. Although the second branch, Shin Jingxin, and his family are not in the wrong. I'll give you a chance to turn over a new leaf. You must live up to your name, Shin Jingxin. Yes, second grandpa, I understand. Shin Jingxin knew that the matter had been settled. Their family had no chance at all, so he did not think too much about it. He tugged at the slightly deranged Shin Jingbing and said, Alright, don't go crazy. If you don't want to die, quickly come back and sit down. Oh. Shin Jingbing returned to her seat in a daze. She lowered her head. No one knew what she was thinking, but it was obvious that she was disheartened. White Fox, are you satisfied this time? If you are, when the time comes you must work hard. Don't let me down. Shin Hongjian looked at Xiao Chen and said, Don't worry. Everything is fine here. I'll go back and prepare as soon as possible. Xiao Chen said. Shin Hongjian nodded and turned to leave the conference hall. No one knew what they were talking about or what kind of riddles they were playing, but no one dared to ask. All right, the Shin family's conference is over. Shin Jingmao, come to my room. I have some family matters to discuss with you. Everyone else, go back to your own business. Shin Jingquan, you may leave, Shin Shanhe said. Shin Jingxuan's eyes were filled with indignation. He pulled Shin Jingtian and Tan Muwei and quickly left the conference hall. Before he left, he glanced at White Fox. No one knew what he was thinking. Shin Jingtian did the same. She glanced at the people in the room, lowered her head, and left with her father. However, if Xiao Qin said that the traitors of this family should be killed directly, what was the point of keeping them alive? Regardless, this was Clayton's family matter. It was not appropriate for him to interfere further. If he said to let them go, then so be it. This time, everyone in the Shin family knew that the Shin family's future depended on the family. Actually, these people already knew that White Fox was a very powerful person. Not only did he know the people from the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he also knew the people from the Martial Artist Guild's Law Enforcement Hall. Even the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau had to give him face. Just this alone was enough for Shin Jingmao to gain a foothold. Previously, Shin Jingquan and Shin Jingxin had staked everything on one throw. Even if they knew about it, they did not want to give up. However, the others knew that Shin Jingmao was not to be trifled with. However, if one were to say that they were surprised, what followed was shock. The pillar of the Shin family, Shin Hongjian, actually knew White Fox. Moreover, they were on good terms. They were of the same generation. How could they compete with Shin Jingmao? This brother-in-law of his was amazing. Many young girls from the side branches of the Shin family cast envious gazes at Shin Jingxian. However, they could not help it. They were not as beautiful as Shin Jingxian. The boyfriend of a goddess was indeed different. At this moment, Shin Jingshuan's heart was filled with sweetness. This family meeting was really full of ups and downs. Her heart was hanging in suspense one moment and relaxing the next. However, what made her happy was that in the end, Shin Jingmao still won. All of this was thanks to Xiao Qin. Thinking of this, Shin Jingxian looked at Xiao Qin with eyes full of love. After that time, this was the first time she took the initiative to do it with Xiao Qin. Sometimes, the reason why women fell in love was very strange. Just admiration alone could make them unable to extricate themselves. The members of the Shin family began to leave. However, before Xiao Qin walked out, no one dared to pass him. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong with Shin Jingxian, who was beside him. Xiao Qin turned his head and looked. However, he discovered that Shin Jingshuan's face was red. There was a hint of seduction in her eyes, and her breathing was a little rushed. This made Xiao Qin slightly stunned. Jingxian, what's wrong? Xiao Qin asked. Shin Jingxian took the initiative to hold Xiao Qin's arm. Previously, when she was in the Shin family, she did not dare to publicly act so intimately. However, she was not afraid now. Not only was her grandfather personally betrothed her to Xiao Qin, but her younger brother, Shin Jingmao, was already the young master of the family. Of course, the higher-level reason was that her man was White Fox. Now, no one dared to say anything bad about White Fox. Go to your room? Shin Jingxian said softly. I miss you. Chapter 474. Xiao Qin's heart skipped a beat. He tightened his grip on Shin Jingshuan's hand and quickened his pace. Although it was daytime, Xiao Qin had been waiting for this moment for too long. Shin Jinghao smiled as he watched his daughter and White Fox leave. He felt that every step he took now was awesome. All he needed was a few lightning bolts by his side. Just thinking about it made him feel good. His son was the young master of the family, Shin Jingmao. His son-in-law was White Fox, who was on the same level as his second grandfather. Now, when the Shin family saw Shin Jinghao, those of the same generation would respectfully call him Brother Hao, while the younger generation would call him Uncle Hao, which made him feel good. Xiao Qin and Shin Jingxian quickly returned to the guest room and closed the door. Goddess Shin couldn't wait to hug Xiao Qin. Her body was almost pressed against Xiao Qin's body. Her breathing was a little rushed. She closed her eyes and exhaled. Kiss me. Shin Jingxian didn't seem to be satisfied with having her lips sealed by Xiao Qin. She couldn't wait to tear off the clothes on her body. However, at this time there was a knock on the door. This made Xiao Qin and Shin Jingxian a little unhappy. Who was it? Knocking at the door at this time. Who is it? Xiao Qin released Shin Jingxian and asked angrily as he put on his mask. Just, brother-in-law, it's me. Shin Jingmao's weak voice came from outside the door. He didn't understand why White Fox was so angry. Xiao Qin was a little speechless. It was his brother-in-law. He could only walk over and open the door. Shen Jingmao walked in and saw his sister's red face and untidy clothes, as well as the angry white fox. He finally understood what had happened. Immediately Shen Jingmao felt a little apologetic. His face was full of awkwardness. But, sister, brother-in-law, I'm sorry. Did I come at a bad time? Nothing. Jingmao, what's wrong? Shen Jingxian didn't know what to say, but how could she say it to her brother? Was he supposed to let him out? That would be too embarrassing. Therefore, Shen Jingxian tried hard to calm herself down. Grandpa told me something about the family. He asked me to stay in the family and slowly take over the family's affairs. Dad will also stay to assist me. As for Songning. Shen Jingmao hesitated for a moment. Sister, you're the only one left. Oh, that's not a big deal. Shen Jingxian didn't mind. I'll move to Menjing's house and live with Menjing. You don't have to worry about me. That way she could see Xiaochen every day. For Shen Jingxian was very happy. Her brother and father had serious things to do. How could she ask for anything else? Now that her father and brother had gotten what they wanted, she couldn't hold them back. Well, then I'll go out first. I won't disturb you. Shen Jingmao stuck out his tongue and scratched his head awkwardly. He quickly left the room. Shen Jingxian blushed and glared at Shen Jingmao. She turned around and hung her head on Xiaochen. Go to bed? Hongzhu didn't leave immediately with Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo. Instead, they got into a commercial car in the parking lot of the Shen family. Hongzhu also needed to contact them and send them back to the headquarters. She still had things to do in Songning City, so she naturally couldn't go back with them. While she was waiting for the call, Hongzhu suddenly frowned and said to Hong Yingwei, "Wait for me. I have something to do. I'll be back soon." Hongzhu quickly opened the door and got out of the car. She quickly ran to the inner courtyard of the Shen family's mansion. Most of the disciples of the Shen family knew Hongzhu. She had already broken in once and taken away Ma Yuqian and Tan Muyo. Who would dare to stop such a ruthless person? Therefore they pretended not to see her. Who knew who Hongzhu would come and take back again? Hongzhu finally arrived at the inner courtyard of the Shen family's courtyard. She stopped in front of the door of Xiao Chen's guest room. Hongzhu's face suddenly revealed an excited expression. Without thinking, she impatiently kicked the door and broke in. She had already missed several opportunities with a naturally charming woman. If she ran away empty-handed this time, she would really die of depression. Ah! Shen Jingxian was shocked. At this moment, she was straddling Xiao Chen's body. In fact, she had just tried this action. Today's arousal had made her no longer satisfied with being conquered by Xiao Chen. Instead, she had turned the tables and started to conquer Xiao Chen. However, she had never expected that someone would actually dare to break in the Shen family's door. Furthermore, it was after the white fox had displayed his invincible might and Shen Jingmao had become the young master. Was this person crazy? Wasn't she afraid of death? Xiao Chen was also scared out of his wits. He turned his head to look in the direction of the door and was extremely stunned. What was it, Hongzhu? Hongzhu was also a little dumbfounded. She looked at Shen Jingxian, who was completely naked on Xiao Chen's body. She was a little at a loss and could only stare at them in a daze. I say, Hongzhu, can you close the door first? If someone comes in later, we'll be screwed. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said somewhat helplessly, if you have something to talk to me about, you can just give me a call. There's no need to barge into someone's room, right? Xiao Chen. You. Hongzhu stammered, unable to speak. Although she was usually bold and often made fun of Xiao Chen, she was still a little virgin. Now that she saw this scene, she did not know what to do. Hongzhu, if there's anything, can we talk about it later? You see, we haven't finished yet. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Even if we have a good relationship and you've tried to seduce me time and time again, there's no need to do this, right? Hongzhu stomped her feet in anger and was about to leave when she suddenly thought of something. She hurriedly ran over and yanked Shen Jingxian off Xiao Chen's body. Fuck! You little she-devil, what are you trying to do? Xiao Chen cried out in pain and yanked Shen Jingxian off his body. Was she trying to end his family line? Hongzhu saw something that he should not have seen in the next moment. However, he was no longer as nervous as before. Instead, he carefully looked at it and said with a look of disdain, so small? Xiao Chen wanted to die. Even if this Hongzhu was a little she-devil, she shouldn't be so shameless, right? Moreover, she was even attacking him. This made him very angry. Didn't you scare me? Luckily I was scared, otherwise I would have died if you had dragged Jingxian away like that. Alright, put on your clothes first. You can't do that. I have something important to tell you. Hongzhu said with a frown. I say, little Hongzhu, can you wait a moment? We're done? You said that I'm not going up or down right now, you're a bit of a scam. Xiao Chen had already been seen naked, so he no longer tried to hide and was a little depressed. Shen Jingxian also looked at Hongzhu with some hidden bitterness. Today, she did not know why, but she was especially interested, but now she had no choice but to stop. I already said that you can't do that, why didn't you listen? Hurry up and put on your clothes. Hongzhu said. I say, little Hongzhu, you can control heaven and earth, you can control the Hong Chamber of Commerce, but you're also interfering in this matter. Xiao Chen was suddenly a little speechless. How do I say this? If you continue to do that with her, you'll kill her. Hongzhu said. Chem? Xiao Chen was slightly surprised. Kill her? What do you mean? Shen Jingxian also widened her eyes, looking at Hongzhu strangely. Why would Xiao Chen kill her? Why would Hongzhu say that? Could it be that Hongzhu liked Xiao Chen and was jealous of her, so he deliberately said that? Thinking about it, it was also possible. A girl standing in front of a naked Xiao Chen, not only did she not leave but she was even talking. The more Shen Jingxian thought about it, the more likely it was. Her physique is called innate charming bones. Among us devil cultivators, this is a very rare physique, do you know? Shen Jingxian said. Xiao Chen was surprised. Innate charming bones? Shen Jingxian blushed. What kind of lousy name was that? To put it nicely, it was called innate charming bones, but to put it bluntly, wasn't it just coquettish? She was a little annoyed and glared at Hongzhu. Don't always say bad things about others, it's not good. Xiao Chen, do you think I would lie to you? Hongzhu said. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. That's right, Hongzhu shouldn't lie to him, and looking at her appearance, it didn't seem like she was joking at all. Xiao Chen also became serious, saying, Hongzhu, what's going on? What is innate charming bones? This kind of physique, what's wrong with it? Women with innate charming bones all have short lives, Hongzhu said. There is a saying, beautiful women have a short life. This is exactly what it means. You mean your little sister? Xiao Chen asked. Scram. Hongzhu glared at Xiao Chen. If you talk nonsense again, I'll kick you to death. Oh, Xiao Chen shrunk his legs. If a woman with innate charming bones doesn't know how to cultivate, when they have intercourse with another, they will leak the yin yuan in their body. After a long time, when the yin yuan is exhausted, that person will not be far from death. Hongzhu said, and Shen Jingxian has this kind of physique. If you want her to die, you can continue. But once or twice shouldn't have much of an effect, right? Xiao Chen was also shocked, but he still asked. Of course it wouldn't affect an ordinary person, but with you? I don't know what kind of evil mental cultivation method you cultivate, but when she does it with you, I can feel her yin yuan rapidly entering your body and being devoured by you. Hongzhu said word by word, if I hadn't discovered it in time, the two of you wouldn't have done it more than 10 times and she would have died. Really? Xiao Chen was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Is there any meaning in lying to you? Hongzhu said, so for her future, Xiao Chen, you can't be too selfish. Chapter 475. What do you mean? Xiao Chen asked with a frown. I will take her back to the sect and let her cultivate our sect's mantra. Hongzhu continued, and if she can control her yin yuan to not leak at all times, there won't be any problems in the future. This. Xiao Chen was dumbfounded by Hongzhu's sudden words. Hongzhu wanted to take Shen Jingxian away? How could he be willing? But his intuition told him that Hongzhu couldn't be deceiving him, because there was no meaning to it. If Hongzhu said that he liked him and wanted to drive him away, then there were plenty of people he wanted to drive away. Most likely the first one he would drive away would be Yi Xiaoya or Lu Shuangshuang. He wouldn't beat around the bush and make up such a reason to trick him. Xiao Chen, I'm doing this for your own good. Hongzhu said, you and I are already so familiar with each other, so I won't say anything else. Although I have my own selfish motives in finding a naturally bewitching woman and taking Shen Jingxian away, I really didn't lie to you. If I don't take her away, even if you no longer have any relationship with her, she will still suffer a tragic fate. After listening to Hongzhu's words, Xiao Chen immediately fell silent. In truth, he was somewhat reluctant to part with Shen Jingxian. At most, today was their second time, but they still hadn't completed it. Moreover, it wasn't that Xiao Chen was infatuated with this matter, but that he really didn't want to be separated from Goddess Shen. When they were together, even if they didn't do anything, Xiao Chen would still be very happy. But now, from Hongzhu's words, if he didn't agree to let Shen Jingxian leave, Shen Jingxian would probably run into problems. After a long while, Xiaochen asked, Hongzhu, how did you discover that Jingxian is naturally bewitching? Does Jingxian often stay in your villa? Hongzhu asked in response. Chem? Yes. Xiaochen nodded, not understanding why Hongzhu had suddenly changed the subject. Then there's no mistake. Hongzhu nodded, the person I've been looking for should be her. A few days ago, were you having sex in the wild not far from an agricultural shop near the villa district? Xiaochen shot a glare at Hongzhu, then thought for a moment, and realized that it was indeed the case. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and nod. How did you know? When a woman with an innately seductive physique becomes aroused, I can feel the Yin essence leaking out. Hongzhu said, however, I reckon that you used some kind of illusion to trap me. I went around looking for you several times, but I still couldn't find you. Xiaochen had indeed set up an illusion at that time, and he did not deny it after hearing it. Also, on the night of the Righteous and Devil Summit in Songning, did you also fall in love with him? It should be in the villa. As Hongzhu spoke up to this point, he suddenly felt that something was wrong and looked at Xiaochen in astonishment. Didn't you help me look after the pharmacy that day? Then Jingxian and Xiaochen stared blankly for a moment. Although he didn't believe that Jingxian would do anything with other people behind his back, he still had some doubts. Could it be that there were other women with an innately seductive physique in the vicinity of the villa district? However, he heard Jingxian say somewhat embarrassedly, that day, Xiaochen displayed his invincible might at the summit. At night, when I was taking a bath and scrubbing my body, I started to miss him a little. No wonder. Hongzhu suddenly nodded, maybe you were just thinking about it and you calmed down after taking a bath. When I told you I was going, I couldn't feel it anymore. Hongzhu, if I go back with you, will I be unable to see Xiaochen in the future? Jingxian asked somewhat worriedly. Of course not, if we meet, Xiaochen can go to the sect at any time. It's just that you haven't cultivated to a certain level, so you can't do that with him again. Otherwise, it will be detrimental to your cultivation and your body. Hongzhu said. Xiaochen, what do you think? Jingxian looked at Xiaochen. She couldn't make up her mind, so she could only ask Xiaochen to make a decision. I think that Hongzhu can't lie to us, so for your own good I can endure it and you can go and cultivate, it will also be beneficial, we can progress together. Xiaochen said. And? Jingxian nodded, I'll listen to you. Xiaochen took a deep breath and nodded. Although he was somewhat reluctant, he wasn't a selfish person. Moreover, it wasn't like Goddess Shen wouldn't come back, he could go and see her at any time. Thinking of this, Xiaochen said, okay Hongzhu, then you can take her back, but you must guarantee her freedom, I can't see her when I want to. That won't happen, Hongzhu said. At the very least, my words in the sect still have some power, don't forget, I am from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Then, you go out first, we need to put on our clothes. Xiaochen said somewhat awkwardly, he still hadn't put on his clothes. Okay, then I'll go out and wait for you. Hongzhu very readily nodded, left the room and closed the door for Xiaochen. Jingxian hugged Xiaochen tightly, and Xiaochen could feel her reluctance to part, so he also hugged her back. Jingxian, when you finish cultivating we can still see each other often. Jingxian nodded, but she still had some doubts. Xiaochen, that Hongzhu, she really won't lie? I don't think so. Xiaochen said with certainty, I know this Hongzhu person, we've always had a good relationship. Back then, when your father bought the medicinal ingredients for Hongjian, he got them from her, and we've also worked together many times. Oh. Jingxian nodded, a little silent. In fact, she could also see that Hongzhu shouldn't be lying, her innate charm should be real. In fact, Jingxian had also discovered that she was especially easily moved. She didn't know why before, but now it was most likely because of this reason. Let's get dressed and go out, Hongzhu is still waiting for us. I reckon he'll have to talk to Uncle Shen and the others about this in a while. Xiaochen said. Then, you don't want to? Jingxian suddenly asked. If you want it, then bear with it. Compared to your life, this is nothing. Xiaochen shook his head. Let me help you. Jingxian hesitated for a moment, then lowered her head and gently turned around, and then, she didn't tell the reader what had happened. Hongzhu waited outside for half an hour, about to explode with anger. What were these two doing again? Sensing that Jingxian seemed to have become aroused again, Hongzhu wanted nothing more than to kick the door in. How could this Xiaochen be like this? Did he not care about Jingxuan's life or death? He only knew how to enjoy himself. However, after giving it some thought, Hongzhu still endured it. It wasn't good for him to disturb the couple, so he could only endure it. Finally, the door opened and Xiao Chen and Xin Jingxian walked out hand in hand. Xiao Chen, did you two do that again? Hongzhu asked with a dark face. No. Xiao Chen hurriedly shook his head. Since you've already said so, how could I dare to do that? You're lying. Hongzhu said, I felt it all. Saying so, he looked at Xin Jingxian. Really, didn't? Xin Jingshuan's mouth was a little numb. She hadn't recovered yet, so the moment she opened her mouth, she gave herself away. Hongzhu was also taken aback. He looked at Xin Jingxian meaningfully, a strange smile on his face. All right, let's just say you didn't. But, Xin Jingxian, aren't you the goddess of the school? It's really hard to imagine. Xin Jingxian blushed slightly. In fact, she herself also found it a little hard to imagine that she would do such a thing, but when she really did it, it seemed very natural and she didn't feel any discomfort. She liked Xiao Chen more and more. In her opinion, this was what she should do and it wasn't a big deal. If Tang Tang could do it, why couldn't she? You've investigated Jingxian? Xiao Chen asked. Hongzhu waved the phone in his hand and said, of course, when the sect accepts a disciple, I naturally have to investigate. If Hongzhu wanted to investigate someone, he could directly mobilize the power of the Honging group, and it would be very easy to find them. Moreover, he had investigated Xin Jingxian before, and knew that Xiao Chen had been pursuing Xin Jingxian. Let's go, we'll go see Jingshuan's father now and tell him about this matter. Although Xiao Chen had already agreed in his opinion, it was reasonable for him to inform Xin Jinghao first. Do you know where Uncle Xin Jinghao and Xin Jingmao are? Xiao Chen randomly grabbed a disciple of the Xin family and asked. Replying to great hero White Fox, Uncle Hao and the young patriarch are in the old patriarch's villa, the disciple hurriedly replied respectfully. Xiao Chen nodded, and the three of them walked toward Xin Shanha's villa. Sure enough, they saw Xin Shanha, Xin Jinghao, and Xin Jingmao sitting on the sofa discussing something. Seeing White Fox arrive, Xin Shanha immediately stood up. Although White Fox was Xin Jingshuan's man, he didn't dare to be careless. This was someone who sat on the same level as Xin Hongjian, not to mention the person who saved his life. When Xin Jinghao and Xin Jingmao saw Xin Shanha stand up, they quickly followed suit and said, White Fox, you're here. What's the matter? Miss Hong is here too. When Xin Shanha saw Hongzhu, he immediately said respectfully, May I know why Miss Hong is here? It's like this. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment, then told them about Xin Jingshuan's matter. Everyone here was Xin Jingshuan's closest people, so there was no need to hide it. As for the other members of the Xin family, Xiao Chen didn't intend to tell them the truth. After all, if news of her natural charm were to spread, people might think of her as a slut or something. However, the people here certainly wouldn't. When Xiao Chen finished speaking, these people were very surprised. Xin Shanha's eyes widened. That is to say, Jingxian has become an expert? With this kind of physique, becoming a martial master shouldn't be a problem. Hongzhu said. It's just a matter of time. Martial master. Xin Shanha sucked in a breath of cold air. If the Xin family really produced a martial master, then the Xin family's status would rise to another level in the future. Even his second uncle, Xin Hongjian, had not succeeded in advancing. He was only a half-step martial master, only slightly more powerful than someone at the peak of the 10th stage of inner force. Chapter 476. Jingxian, I respect your and White Fox's intentions. Xin Shanha said, Since that's the case, this is for your own good, I have no objections at all. And father is right. Xin Jinghao also nodded and said, I also have no objections. Xin Jingmao also had no objections. To be honest, he was currently in the Xin family, and could only be said to be at the stage of learning and internship. He still wouldn't casually voice his opinion. After the matter was settled, Hongzhu was naturally anxious to bring Xin Jingxian back to the sect, because she also had to return to the Hong Chamber of Commerce headquarters to handle some matters. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, did not want to part with Xin Jingxian so soon. After all, the two of them were deeply in love, and it hadn't been long since they got together, and they were just about to be intimate. Hongzhu also had no choice but to remind Xiao Chen not to cross the line, and also allow Xiao Chen and Xin Jingxian to be intimate for a few more days. However, a single email had destroyed all of Xiao Chen's plans. There are changes in the Xiao family. Xiao Yuanshan is critically ill, the Xiao family's business has been swindled, and the entire Xiao family is in danger. Take care. The email should have been sent by that person from before. He had already repeatedly reminded him of some things. This person obviously knew his identity, but what was his identity? Why would he help him? Xiao Qin felt a little strange. This person had used such a method to contact him, and it was obvious that he did not want to expose his identity. This meant that this person should be someone he knew, but people he knew and had a good relationship with would more or less know some of his abilities. Xiao Qin took a deep breath and his mood became somewhat heavy. If his guess was correct, this person had always been helping him and providing accurate information. Then, the Xiao family was a family that made Xiao Qin a little disappointed. However, after getting in touch with his second uncle, Xiao Qin also knew that the Xiao family had their own difficulties. The Qing family was powerful while the Xiao family was weak. It was reasonable for them to compromise. After leaving the Xiao family, Xiao Qin had seen too many of the children of aristocratic families acting against their will, especially within the Xin family. It was simply a big scuffle. The infighting and scheming had lost all humanity. For the position of the head of the family, they could even murder the current head of the family who was their father. It was really an eye-opener for Xiao Qin. In comparison, the Xiao family was much better. They cared for each other and were very loving. Even if his sister Xiao Xiao was angry at him, Xiao Qin didn't blame her. He was just a little disappointed. Who asked him to be a loser? Which younger sister would want her brother to be a good-for-nothing who was scolded by others all day long? With the reputation of being a good-for-nothing sister, it would be strange if she was in a good mood. Therefore, when he saw that the Xiao family was in trouble, he had a strong sense of belonging and guilt in his heart. Yes, he was now unhindered in Songning, and he even came to Lan City to call the wind and summon the rain to help Jingxian solve the problem of her family. However, he had neglected his own family. For such a long time, Xiao Qin had almost never paid attention to the Xiao family. Even he didn't know why. Perhaps he didn't want to pay attention to it, but when he did, his mood became very heavy. Deep in his heart, there was still an obsession. That was to return to the Xiao family, but he couldn't go back. At least, he absolutely couldn't go back before he found the mastermind who framed him and his father. As Xiao Qin's vision broadened, Xiao Qin increasingly felt that the Qing family wasn't the ultimate mastermind behind the scenes. His opponents and enemies were getting higher and higher, from Qin Jinping and Chao Yuliang to Li Shanning, and then Ling Youxiang, Qiao Enz and Yang Jianan. However, even they who didn't put the Qing family in their eyes, couldn't manipulate the trial mission of the warrior guild. In other words, there was definitely an expert behind the Qing family. This also forced Xiao Qin to postpone his return to the Xiao family. However, everything changed because of this text message. However, he must return to the Xiao family. How and what identity he would use was still to be considered. At present, the best identity was the White Fox. It wouldn't expose Xiao Qin and it wouldn't cause too much trouble. However, why would the White Fox help the Xiao family? Just because Xiao Qin claimed to be the White Fox's follower? It didn't seem to be enough for the White Fox to run back so desperately, right? However, this reason was somewhat reasonable. Xin Jingxian took a bath. She only wrapped a thin bath towel around her body. She didn't wear her pajamas either. She walked over and gently leaned on Xiao Qin. She wanted to be intimate with him again. Even if she couldn't do that, there were other ways to replace it. However, in the next moment, Xin Jingxian realized that Xiao Qin did not seem to be in high spirits. Even when she arrived, he did not have any special reaction. His brows were still tightly furrowed and no one knew what he was thinking. Xiao Qin, what's wrong? Is it because you're unhappy that I'm leaving? Xin Jingxian gently hugged Xiao Qin's neck and leaned on him. If you don't want me to go, I won't go. Of course not. Xiao Qin shook his head. How could I be so selfish? I'm leaving because of something else. Take a look at this email. As he said this, Xiao Qin handed the phone to Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian took it and looked at it. Her expression changed. Really? I don't know, but this person has sent me messages more than once. I think it should be true. Xiao Qin said. Jingxian, no matter what, I have to go back. The Xiao family is my home. I understand. Xin Jingxian nodded and said, then go back quickly. I'll be fine. When the time comes, you can still go to the sect to find me, right? In the future, I'll also become a martial artist, or even a martial master. My lifespan will be extended and we'll have a lot more time together. And then I'll leave now. Xiao Qin stood up and said, Jingxian, if anything happens, remember to call me. I'll rush over as soon as possible. Xin Jingxian smiled and said, treat Menjing better. She is your fiancé. I know. Xiao Qin didn't refuse. He knew that Xin Jingxian had always felt guilty about Qing Menjing. In fact, wasn't Xiao Qin the same? What he felt guilty about was not the present, but the past. The eldest miss was actually a very good girl. Only by getting close to her would one discover her kindness and kindness. Therefore Xiaochen was trying his best to make it up to her. Perhaps only when the eldest miss ordered him around could Xiaochen accept it without any resentment. If it were someone else, Xiaochen would have turned and left long ago. This was a girl who filled Xiaochen with very complicated feelings, his ex-fiancée. After informing Hongzhu was also very surprised. She immediately called Tai Muching and asked about what happened in Songning City. After a while Hongzhu ended the call and said to Xiaochen, "That's right. The Warriors Market has also received news that the Xiao family was cheated by a few foreign businessmen from Japan recommended by the Sun family. They lost everything, and even some of the Xiao family's properties were used to pay off their debts. And your grandfather, Xiao Yuanshan, fell sick after hearing this news. I heard that he's on the verge of death. Medicine Master Sun went to see him and said that he can't be saved." Medicine Master Sun is Bullsh *T. Xiaochen snorted coldly. "I'll kill him sooner or later. It seems that the Sun family planned this. They should have been exterminated the last time." Hongzhu suddenly realized that Xiaochen was quite handsome when he was domineering. Previously, when he saw him being evasive in front of Hongzhu, he thought that it was because of his submissive personality. "If you want to kill him, I'll just give him a call and he'll be dead. After all, he's a member of our Hong Chamber of Commerce." Hongzhu said, "But for now you should go to the Xiao family and take a look. If there's anything you need my help with, just let me know." Xiaochen nodded. Although he was a little anxious, he wasn't afraid. Things could be solved eventually. Even if his grandfather was critically ill, as long as he wasn't dead, he had a way. He couldn't treat Jingshuan's grandfather and let something happen to his own grandfather, right? Although they didn't know why White Fox was in such a hurry to return, the members of the Shin family didn't dare to ask. Now Shin Jingmao's faction was like the sun at high noon. Not to mention White Fox, even Shin Jingshin was about to enter the demonic sect and become a core disciple. It was said that it wouldn't be a problem for her to become a martial master. Who would dare to disrespect Shin Jinghao's family in the future? As for the former 4 young masters of Lan City, their 4th father was done for, and the 4 young masters had become a joke. The current number 1 young master of Lan City was none other than Shin Jingmao. After hugging Shin Jingxian, Xiaochen reluctantly let go of her and said, "Take care. You too." Shin Jingxian nodded. "Hey, don't be so affectionate. It's not like we're parting by life and death." Hongzhu teased. "Little Hongzhu, let's hug too?" Xiaochen asked with a smile. "Sure. Come on." Hongzhu opened his arms. "Forget it." Xiaochen felt that if he hugged her, he might end up in trouble. "Coward." Hongzhu chuckled softly as he watched Xiaochen get into the car and quickly leave the Shin family's mansion. "Hongzhu, you like Xiaochen too?" Shin Jingxian waited until Xiaochen's car was out of sight before she turned her head and asked. "Ah." Hongzhu was taken aback by Shin Jingshuan's question. Then he smiled and said, "I like him." "I guessed it right away." Shin Jingxian did not say anything else, nor did she show any displeasure. She only said, "No wonder you always help him. Then, he didn't wear anything today and you stayed in the room for so long?" "Hee, I'm just kidding." Hongzhu laughed. "At most it's just for fun. But, you don't have to worry. My position in the Hong Chamber of Commerce is very special. I can't marry anyone. The upper echelons of the Hong Chamber of Commerce do not allow outsiders to appear. I heard that there used to be an honorary president?" In truth, Shin Jingxian did not really care about Xiaochen's relationships with women. She was not a jealous person, but she did not like it when Xiaochen lied to her. She felt that it was wrong to lie to a couple. Chapter 477. "Yes, but that's just a legend," Hongzhu said. The two returned to the Shin family and prepared to leave. After Xiaochen left, there was no point for Shin Jingxian to stay. In fact, she didn't like the Shin family's compound very much because she didn't have much freedom here. As for the school, Shin Jinghao would definitely settle it. It was a piece of cake for the Shin family to apply for a suspension from school. Before they left, they could ignore the others, but Cheng Minjing had to make a call. Jean Beibei, whom they had just formed an alliance with. "Jingxian? How are you? I was so worried. I didn't dare to call you because I didn't want to disturb you. Your grandpa?" Cheng Minjing asked anxiously after receiving the call. "My grandpa is fine. Thanks to White Fox, he came and cured my grandpa's problem. He also solved the crisis of the Shin family and helped my younger brother ascend to the position of the young master." Shin Jingxian said. "Ah, White Fox is so powerful." Qing Minjing was a little surprised. It's good that you're fine. When will you come back? Also, where's Xiaoqin? I might not be able to go back. Shen Jingxian smiled bitterly and said, Minjing, in the future, we might not be able to see each other often. Why? Are you going to settle down in Lan City? Qing Minjing thought of something. My father and my younger brother will settle down in Lan City, but I will be apprenticed to a demonic sect, the Heavenly Fox sect. I was chosen by them and became their disciple. It said that I have a good aptitude and can break through to the martial master realm. Shen Jingxian didn't mention those seductive things. After all, it was not good to say it, especially when it might expose Xiaoqian's matter. If that's the case, then, congratulations. Although Qing Minjing felt a little regretful that her best friend left and couldn't stay by her side, but Shen Jingxian went to practice martial arts. When she came back, she would become a top master, and Qing Minjing would only be happy for her. Shen Jingxian said, Minjing, take care. Xiaoqin might go back in a few days. I heard that something happened to his family, so it's not good for him to go back. Oh, that's right. I still want to talk to him about this matter. The Xiao family is in trouble, but it's best if he doesn't go. If he goes, he'll only add to the chaos. Now, the Sun family has taken over the Xiao family and Grandpa Xiao is critically ill. The Xiao family doesn't have a backbone and it's already a mess. I heard that the Sun family isn't the mastermind, and there are other families behind the scenes. Xiaoqin knows what he's doing. Let's leave him alone, Shen Jingxian said. She was not worried at all because in her opinion, this situation was not a big deal at all. Xiaoqin would definitely be able to solve it easily. If he could solve such a big problem for the Shen family, how could the Xiao family handle it? When you arrive at the sect, remember to call me often. Qing Minjing was actually happy for Shen Jingxian from the bottom of her heart. In fact, for the children of aristocratic families like them, if they could be chosen by those sects, it would be a very fortunate thing. Whether it was for themselves or their families, it would be of great help. Shen Jingxian hung up the phone and called Jean Bebe, but Jean Bebe didn't answer. She didn't take her phone with her. At this moment she was pulled by Qing Minjing, who was talking about Shen Jingxian. Jean Bebe was a little surprised. She didn't expect that Shen Jingxian would leave. What's going on? I just cooperated with her to drive Yi Xiaoye away and she just left? Jean Bebe was so upset. Knowing that there was no turning back, she could only go upstairs and plan to call Shen Jingxian in person to ask what was going on. At the very least, she had to get the money to buy the villa. Shen Jingxian received Jean Bebe's reply very soon, but Jean Bebe obviously knew that she was going to leave. Sister Jingxian, you are not a good friend. We haven't cooperated to drive Yi Xiaoye away. You should leave first. Jean Bebe said reluctantly. Forget it. Yi Xiaoye is actually not a bad person. Shen Jingxian actually didn't want to drive Yi Xiaoye away. That won't do. Cousin Minjing is no match for her. If I go home, Cousin Minjing will be bullied. Jean Bebe said worriedly. Then what do you want to do? Shen Jingxian asked helplessly. I still want to buy a villa. Sister Jingxian, hasn't your brother taken over the position of the young master of the family? Is he rich now? Can you ask him to buy a villa? Jean Bebe asked. Shen Jingxian felt a little dizzy. That's not good, is it? I think it's not right. Well, why not? I think it's good. Jean Bebe said, Sister Jingxian, you know that I'm a person who gets angry easily. If Yi Xiaoye makes me angry, she might spill the beans about your relationship with my cousin-in-law. What should we do then? Shen Jingxian was speechless. Jean Bebe was threatening her. Although she knew that Jean Bebe might be joking, she didn't dare to take the risk. Helplessly she said, Then I'll discuss it with my brother. But he doesn't have time recently. Let's wait until he returns to Songning City. Shen Jingxian thought that she should delay it as long as she could. After a long time, maybe Jean Bebe would forget about it. Therefore she agreed to it first. Alright. Jean Bebe didn't force her anymore. Sister Jingxian, go and practice. When you make some progress, come back and help my cousin-in-law. Shen Jingxian said. Xiaoqin sped all the way. His speed was no slower than when he went to Songning City. However, it was daytime and there were a lot of cars on the highway. His speeding attracted a lot of attention. Many drivers on the highway found it hard to believe their eyes. They felt that a car had swooshed past them and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In Songning City, Xiaoqian's car almost rushed into the Xiao family's yard. At the gate of the Xiao family, a disciple of the Sun family was guarding, as if he were a villain who had achieved his goal. Xiaoqian had some impression of this person. He should be an important disciple of the Sun family. Previously, Xiao Qin felt that the cooperation between the Xiao family and the Sun family was inappropriate. However, he didn't care about it. He didn't care about the Sun family. In his opinion, the Sun family wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. He didn't expect that the Sun clan would really dare to do it. They actually wanted to devour the Xiao clan, so Xiao Qin didn't show any mercy. That disciple saw a car trying to drive into the Xiao clan, so he directly waved his hand to stop it. He was sent flying by Xiao Chen's car with a bang, and fell on the lawn far away. He twitched twice and no one knew if he was dead or alive. The car rushed into the Xiao family's yard. Xiao Chen parked his car in the parking space at the gate of his grandfather's house. At this time, several cars were already parked at the gate of his grandfather's villa. Xiao Chen got out of the car and walked directly into the villa. At the gate of the villa, there were obviously disciples of the Sun family guarding it. Just as he was about to question Xiao Chen, he was slapped to the side by Xiao Chen. The disciple howled and immediately attracted the attention of a person not far away. That person quickly turned around and walked over. As a result, Xiao Chen recognized him. Isn't this Xie Chen? Why did he come here? Who's causing trouble at the gate? Duh. When Xie Chen saw the white fox, the arrogant words in his mouth suddenly stopped. He looked at Xiao Chen in shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Why is the white fox here? Why did he come to the Xiao family? Xiao Chen was angry when he saw him. Back then, this person had been jumping up and down with an unconvinced look. Then, that day when Xiao Chen rescued Lin from the private room, he happened to see Xie Chen sitting with two islanders and Medicine Master Sunday. In that case, the Xiao family was deceived and the Xie family was involved in it? Thinking of this possibility, Xiao Chen's gaze was a little gloomy. He really didn't expect the Xie family to be involved. The Xie family was a family that Xiao Chen had a good relationship with. They were also the first family that strongly supported Xiao Chen back then, but he didn't expect such a situation to happen. A kick landed on Xie Chen's crotch, causing him to jump up high. Ow 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 ow, he covered his crotch and jumped to the side. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with him and directly walked into the villa's living room. At this moment in the Xiao family's living room, there were already a lot of people gathered. When Xiao Chen walked to the door, he saw his grandfather Xiao Yuanshan lying on a wheelchair, looking dispirited, but his face was filled with unwillingness and indignation. Beside him stood second uncle Xiao Hai with a face full of anger, and beside Xiao Hai stood Xiao Xiao. What surprised Xiao Chen was that Qing Mingxiang actually didn't come. Such a big thing happened to the Xiao family, but as Xiao Zhao's boyfriend he actually didn't come. It was really a bit strange. Could it be that Qing Mingxiang also wanted to see the Xiao family finished? On the other side of Xiao Yuanshan stood the eldest son of the Sun family, Ming Ming. Beside him stood Sun Yoli and Medicine Master Sunday. Xiao Yuanshan, this is a declaration that your Xiao family is willing to give up their place in the four great families, and transfer all the rights of the Xiao family to the Sun family. Medicine Master Sun held a document, looked at Xiao Yuanshan expressionlessly and said, as long as you sign it, then the Xiao family's debt will naturally be transferred to our Sun family. Seeing that we've cooperated for a period of time, our Sun family can help you take on this debt. Don't even think about it. Xiao Hai was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He pointed at Medicine Master Sun with a face full of anger. So you've already planned this from the start. Seeking refuge with our Xiao family, looking for our Xiao family to cooperate and do business together. I'm afraid that those two foreign businessmen were invited by you, right? It was all premeditated to make our Xiao family suffer losses, right? Xiao Hai, don't slander us. All the cooperation was signed by you. Our Sun family is only the executor, and this time, our Sun family has also lost a lot of money. Ming said coldly, our Sun family only came to talk to you because of mutual benefits. As long as you sign it, not only will we give you a sum of money, but we will also take on all of the Xiao family's debt. Otherwise, when the bank comes to collect the money, you will have to sleep on the streets. Chapter 478. Alright Xiao Hai. Xiao Yuanshan opened his eyes and said weakly, sign it. Take the money and leave with me. Let's leave this city. Xiao Yuanshan knew his situation best. The poison in his body had already acted up. It was obvious that he didn't have many days left. If he left, the Xiao family would completely collapse. Right now, his old friends at the bank might not have come to collect the debt because of Xiao Yuanshan, but if he left, it would be different. At that time, rather than the Xiao family declining, it would be better to sell it to the Sun family now. That's right, sell it to the Sun family. Previously, when he received this shocking news, he fell sick. Medicine Master's son came to comfort him and concoct medicine for him. In the end, after taking the medicine, the poison acted up. After that, Medicine Master's son revealed his true colors and brought the Sun family here to force him to abdicate. Now that he thought about it carefully, Medicine Master's son must have done something in the dark. There must be a problem with the medicine he concocted for him. Otherwise, the poison wouldn't have acted up so quickly. According to Xiao Yuanshan's previous estimation, he could still hold on for a while. Even if he was angered, it wouldn't be so easy for the poison to act up. At most, he would fall sick from being angry, which was two different concepts from the poison acting up. It seems like old man Xiao is a sensible person. Medicine Master's son said proudly, "Xiao Hai, your father already said it. What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and sign it." Xiao Hai was struggling in his heart. To be honest, he also knew that there was no turning back. The two foreign businessmen had already disappeared without a trace. Wanting to find them was undoubtedly a fool's dream. Once the Xiao family was chased for debt, there was only one possibility: bankruptcy. All of the Xiao family's businesses would be taken away, and the Xiao family would become penniless. However, if he agreed to the Sun family's request now, then he could get a sum of money. Although the Xiao family's name would no longer exist, at least he could still be a rich man. He was in a dilemma. The Xiao family was destroyed in his hands. How could he face his father and his missing brother? How could he face Xiao Qin, who was chased out of the family and endured humiliation? "What are you thinking about?" Sun Yoli urged impatiently. "I'm telling you, there won't be another chance like this. Old man, hurry up and let your son sign it, then take the money and leave. Everyone will look good." "Xiao Hai, sign it," Xiao Yuanshan urged. He did not know how long he could last. Sigh. Xiao Hai let out a long sigh and took the document. He couldn't be blamed for being stupid. The Sun family's side was too realistic. Especially when the Sun family was in charge of the business, Xiao Hai gradually let down his guard. This time the two island businessmen came here. Although he was very cautious before and felt that he had to investigate, he did not expect that he would accidentally get to know Xie Chen from the Xie family. The two of them chatted very congenially and talked about the two island businessmen. Xie Chen said that their Xie family's company also had a lot of business dealings with them, and in private, Xiao Hai, Xie Chen and the two foreign businessmen had a meal together. Sure enough, Xie Chen and the two of them were very familiar with each other. During the meal, they also talked about a lot of business cooperation. Thus, Xiao Hai really didn't suspect anything. Who knew that the Sun family could actually get help from the Xie family? After all, weren't the Sun and Xie families sworn enemies previously? How did they start to associate with each other? Thus, Xiao Hai felt unreconciled. This loss was too unjust. It was really impossible to guard against. From the moment the Sun family sought refuge with them, it was a trap, causing the Xiao family to walk towards the end of the road step by step. "All right, I'll sign it." Xiao Hai thought that after signing he would bring his father to look for Xiao Chen, then leave Songning City and go to another city to make a comeback. Even if he couldn't become an aristocratic family, it shouldn't be a problem to start a small business family. At the very least, the money would be enough for them to live for the rest of their lives. But just as he was about to sign, a voice rang from the door of the meeting room. "It's quite lively here? So many people, what are they doing here at the Xiao family? Playing a monkey show? Or are you here to visit old man Xiao?" Xiao Qin asked indifferently as he walked into the conference hall under everyone's confused gaze. "You, what are you doing here?" Medicine Master's son was scared out of his wits when he saw White Fox. Their Sun family and White Fox could be said to have a grudge. In the end, White Fox showed his prowess at the Righteous and Demonic Summit in Songning City. Medicine Master's son knew that the Sun family was really thankful that they didn't find trouble with such a ruthless person. It was a miracle that the Sun family could still exist after provoking such a ruthless person. "Nothing, Medicine Master Sunday. You're quite good at jumping around, aren't you? Why are you everywhere?" Xiao Qin said coldly. "It seems that it was a mistake that I didn't destroy the Sun family." "What? Rongqin and Rongjin? Was you?" Medicine Master's son immediately reacted after hearing Xiao Qin's words. He looked at Xiao Qin in disbelief. Although Medicine Master's son didn't think that it was a coincidence, it was really unbelievable that someone could die silently from the wind on a horse. It was actually done by White Fox. "That's right, it was me." With Xiao Qin's current strength, he wasn't afraid of exposing this. In his eyes, the Sun family was just a pile of trash that could be destroyed in a matter of minutes. You You actually violated the warrior guild's rules and attacked us ordinary people for no reason. Sun Yuming pointed at Xiao Chen in exasperation. Oh, then why don't you sue me? Coincidentally, Xiao En's from the warrior guild's law enforcement hall hasn't left yet. Why don't you ask him to arrest me? Xiao Chen looked at Sun Yuming and sneered disdainfully. I attacked you. What can you do? You. Sun Yuming was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He was so angry that his face was twitching. What do you want to say? Say it slowly. Why is your face twitching? Don't tell me you're practicing some evil technique and want to use it on me? Xiao Chen looked at Sun Yuming in a surprised manner. White Fox, even if our Sun family offended you before, we've already retreated. This matter has nothing to do with you. I hope you won't interfere. Although Sun Yuming was trembling with anger, he knew that he couldn't act tough in front of White Fox. If he acted tough, he would die. This guy killed without batting an eyelid. Now he knew that the Sun family was like an ant in White Fox's eyes. White Fox could kill experts like Li Shanning and Leng Youxiang without batting an eyelid. What was the Sun family? Xiao Chen listened and said faintly, Are you stupid? Sun Yuming was stunned for a moment, then his face turned red. When Xiao Chen said, Oh, earlier, Sun Yuming thought that Xiao Chen was convinced and was going to give up. However, Xiao Chen's last sentence simply made him seethe with anger. What did he mean by stupid? You don't know how your Sun family died, right? You provoked Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen is my underling, and the Xiao family is Xiao Chen's family. Do you have any logic? And it has nothing to do with me? Do you think it has nothing to do with me? Xiao Chen looked at Sun Yuming mockingly and said, Now, I'll give your Sun family a chance to live. Give me your Sun family's property and how much money you cheated from the Xiao family. I'll give you an hour. I won't wait after that. I haven't killed for a long time. My hands are a little itchy. Ugh. Sun Yuming suddenly remembered about Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was kicked out of the Xiao family. During this period he didn't appear in the Xiao family at all, so Sun Yuming naturally ignored Xiao Chen's matter. Now that White Fox mentioned it, he thought of it. His face suddenly became a little pale. He had thought of everything but he didn't think of White Fox. Also, Xie Chen at the door, are you trying to run away? Although Xiao Chen was in the house, his divine sense had been paying attention to Xie Chen at the door. Seeing that Xie Chen was about to leave, he said coldly. Xie Chen was shocked, but he saw that White Fox didn't come out. He thought that it was a trick, so he still moved step by step toward the door. In the end, White Fox's voice sounded again, Xie Chen, if you take another step, I'll kill you instantly. Xie Chen really didn't dare to leave this time. His legs were cramping. To be honest, although he hated White Fox and hated him for snatching Xinjing Xin, he also knew that he was not White Fox's opponent. Fighting him would only lead to death. Xie Chen had no choice but to slowly walk back to the living room. He looked at Xiao Chen with an awkward smile and said, I didn't leave. White Fox, I have nothing to do with this matter. I'm just here to help. Stand aside for now. I'll look for you after I deal with the Sun family. Xiao Chen said coldly and ignored him. Instead, he turned to Alchemist's son and said, Alchemist's son, if you want to protect yourself and the Sun family, then do as I say. Obviously, you have the final say in this matter. White Fox, don't be impulsive. I admit that I provoked you at the Warriors Market Square, but I didn't know about you at that time. Our grievances have ended here. Today's matter actually has nothing to do with our Sun family. We are also the victims. If you don't believe me, you can ask Xie Chen. The money was cheated by those two foreign businessmen from Japan. We admit that our Sun family did want to make use of this matter to make up for our losses. However, we did this for the good of the Xiao family. Xiao family can at least become rich if they sign this agreement, but if they don't, then the Xiao family will go bankrupt. Therefore, this is a win-win situation, Alchemist's son explained. Don't give me any reasons. I don't want to hear any reasons. If I say that you colluded with those two foreign businessmen, then you did. Xiao Chen didn't want to reason with Alchemist Sunday. He said directly, if you don't want to die, then do as I say. Otherwise, your Sun family will be exterminated. Chapter 479. I'm the Warriors Market's medicine master. You can't do this to me. Medicine Master Sun struggled and said, I'm protected by the guild. Oh, then I'll let Hongzhu kill you. I'll kill the others. Xiao Chen said indifferently. You. Medicine Master Sun was completely afraid. He naturally knew who Hongzhu was. Even if he didn't know that Hongzhu was a member of the Hong Ying group, he knew that Hongzhu was from the Hong family. The Hong family had the absolute right to speak in the Hong Merchant Association. Don't bother with me. Hurry up and take back the money and property. Just like you said, if you don't, I'll destroy your Sun family. If you take it, you'll still have a way out. It's a win-win situation. Xiao Qin said impatiently, I don't have time to waste with you. Hurry up. Yes. Medicine Master Sun's expression changed again and again. He finally said this. He didn't argue and turned to leave. Sun Yuming and Sun Yoli wanted to follow behind, but they were stopped by Xiao Qin. What, you want to run away together? You two stay here and let him go back to report. Xiao Qin pointed at Sun Yuming and Sun Yoli. Sun Yuming and Sun Yoli helplessly stopped and came back. They regretted it. Had they been blinded by greed? He wanted to swallow up the Xiao clan. However, even though the Xiao clan was on the decline, Xiao Qin had acknowledged someone as his boss. With just a few words from Xiao Qin, the situation was completely reversed. Furthermore, the other party did not even try to reason with you. No matter how ingenious and logical your plan was, and you even had Xie Qin as a witness, the White Fox did not play his cards according to common sense. The other party was certain that you were the one who did it. Even if you didn't, you still had to admit it if you wanted to live. This was 2F** King frustrating, but they didn't dare to say half a word. Xiao Hai was already a little dumbfounded. Ever since Xiao Qin came in and said those words of support for the Xiao family, he was extremely emotional. He just held onto Xiao Yuanshan's hand. He never thought that the boss that Xiao Qin casually recognized would come to the Xiao family to stand up for the Xiao family. If the White Fox supported the Xiao family, what would the Xiao family have to fear? Stabilizing their position as one of the 4 great aristocratic families was no longer a problem. Xiao Xiao was also surprised. Before this, her eyes were filled with despair. She didn't expect that the situation would change. Her beautiful face was filled with excitement. She looked at the White Fox with a strange expression. Xie Qin, let's talk about your problem now. After Alchemist's son left, Xiao Qin looked at Xie Qin and said, call the Xie Emperor and tell him to come and pick them up. Also, give me an explanation. What do you think of this matter? How would Xie Qin dare to make a phone call? He did all of this behind the Xie family's back. The Xie family didn't even know about it. If he told the Xie Emperor that he worked with the Sun family, wouldn't he be punished and beaten to death? Thinking of this, Xie Qin trembled and almost knelt down in front of Xiao Qin. White Fox hero, I was wrong. This matter has nothing to do with me. If you don't believe me, you can ask Xiao Hai. We only met by chance and he asked me to verify the identity of those 2 foreign businessmen. Slap. Xiao Qin directly slapped Xie Qin's face. I call him Uncle Xiao. You call him Xiao Hai. Are you trying to say that you're older than me by a generation? This. Xie Qin was about to cry as he covered his red face. Previously, Xiao Hai treated him as someone of the same generation, but he got used to it. Now he suffered a calamity. However, how would he dare to explain? He could see that White Fox couldn't explain, and he wouldn't listen to any explanation. Once he decided on something, it was what it was. Don't say those useless things. If you don't want to die, make a phone call. Do you think I don't dare to kill you? Xiao Qin asked coldly and was about to make a move. Don't. White Fox hero, I beg you. I'm willing to contribute all of my illegal gains over the years. Please don't tell Xie Huang, cousin. I was wrong. For the sake of Consort Xie, please spare me. Xie Qin begged with tears and snot. Xiao Qin ignored him. If he didn't make the call, then Xiao Qin would make the call himself. He directly dialed Xie Huang's number. Hero White Fox, you're looking for me? Xie Emperor carefully picked up the phone and asked. Ever since White Fox's amazing performance at the Songning Righteous and Demonic Summit, the Xie family had become even more respectful towards White Fox, not daring to show any disrespect. Not only was White Fox powerful, but he also had a wide network. Even Hong Zhu of the Hong Chamber of Commerce had some connections with him. If White Fox wanted to cut off the Xie family's business, it would only take a word from him. Your younger brother, Xie Qin, is here with me. He colluded with the Sun family and found 2 Japanese to pretend to be foreign businessmen. They cheated the Xiao family. Come and deal with it now. Xiao Qin said straightforwardly. What? He colluded with the Sun family? Cheated the Xiao family? Xie Huang didn't doubt it after hearing it. He was angry now. Was Xie Qin courting death? Colluding with the Sun family was unforgivable. How could he be caught by White Fox? He wanted the Xie family to suffer together with him. I'm at the Xiao family. Come over. Xiao Qin said and hung up the phone without saying anything else. At this moment, Xie Qin was paralyzed on the ground. His eyes were lifeless. He knew that he was done for. All that was left was endless shock and fear. Soon Xie Huang arrived in a flying car. Fortunately, he was in Songning City visiting his sister, Xie Fei, so he arrived quickly. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Xie Qin paralyzed on the ground. Without saying a word, he went over and kicked Xie Qin, knocking out a few of his teeth. Xie Qin didn't dare to resist. He lowered his head while trembling. White Fox Hero, I'll take Xie Qin away first. Our Xie family will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. Xie Huang was anxious. Of all people to provoke, why did you have to provoke White Fox? Share a part of the warrior's market business in the future. Xiaoqin said lightly. Half of the profits will be given to the Xiao family. Xie Huang was slightly stunned, but only for a moment. He nodded and said, no problem. Xiaoqin nodded and his anger subsided. It seemed that Xie Huang really didn't know about this matter. Moreover, Xie Huang's respect for him had never changed from beginning to end. He listened to whatever Xiaoqin said, so he said, I will tell Hongzhu that the supply business of the warriors' market in Lan City will also be given to the Xie family. Xie Huang was surprised and happy. He didn't expect that sharing half of the profits would be exchanged for such a big return. Although in theory 50% of the profits from the supply of medicinal herbs in 2 warriors' market was almost the same as the total profits of 1 warriors' market, Lan City was much bigger than Songning City. The demand for medicinal herbs in the warriors' market was simply incomparable. It could be said that the demand was twice the size of Songning City. Therefore, Xie Huang handed over half of the profits, which was equivalent to receiving half of the previous profits. Go, give me an explanation for this matter. Xiaoqin waved his hand indicating that Xie Huang could leave. Xie Huang hurriedly nodded and left the Xiao family with Xie Qin. In this way, only the 2 Sun brothers and the Xiao family were left in the Xiao family's living room. Xiaoqin walked over and knocked the 2 Sun brothers unconscious. He casually ordered 2 disciples of the Xiao family to watch over them, then turned to look at Xiao Yuanshan. Grandpa Xiao, how is your body? Xiaoqin quickly dealt with the crisis of the Xiao family, then looked at Xiao Yuanshan worriedly and asked. Haha, Xiaoqin has recognized a good big brother. Xiao Yuanshan laughed loudly. In his laughter there was peace of mind and joy. I can't do it, but with Hero White Fox's help, Xiao Hai, I can rest assured. Let Xiaoqin return to our Xiao family. It's time. It seems that Hero White Fox is sincerely supporting our Xiao family. Uncle Xiao, take Grandpa Xiao to his room. I want to examine and treat him. White Fox said hurriedly, let's see if there's a way to cure him. Yes. Xiao Hai quickly pushed Xiao Yuanshan's wheelchair out of the living room and into a bedroom in the villa. Hero White Fox, there's actually no need to examine me. Hero White Fox, there's actually no need to check. I've been poisoned and my problem is very serious. I've seen many medicine masters, but there's no way. You don't have to worry. Thank you for everything you've done for our Xiao family, I'm very grateful. After Xiao Yuanshan entered the room, he said, my only hope is to see Xiaoqin return to the Xiao family and take over the position of young master. Are you willing to help him? Grandpa Xiao, let's not talk about this first. Who is the pharmacist you've seen? Pharmacist's son? Can that guy's words be trusted? Xiaoqin shook his head and said, I'm also a pharmacist. I'm much better than him. Shen Jingshuan's grandfather was also poisoned, but I've already cured him. So you have to have confidence. As for Xiaoqin's problem, we'll talk about it later. All right. Xiao Yuanshan nodded. When he heard Hero White Fox mention Shen Jingxian, Xiao Yuanshan was actually a little puzzled. Didn't Xiaoqin like Shen Jingxian? How did Shen Jingxian become White Fox's girlfriend? Xiao Yuanshan had been paying attention to Hero White Fox's matter. He knew that he shone brilliantly during the Songning Righteous and Demonic Summit, but he didn't expect him to be related to the Xiao family and Xiaoqin. Both of them liked Shen Jingxian. How did it become a boss and a follower relationship? This was really a little strange, but Xiao Yuanshan definitely wouldn't ask this question. However, when Xiaoqin mentioned Shen Jingxian, Xiao Xiao, who was beside him, frowned slightly as if she didn't like hearing this name. Xiaoqin sat beside Xiao Yuanshan, stretched out his hand to check the pulse on his wrist. After checking, he felt much more relaxed in his heart. There was only one type of poison. If it was only one type, then there wouldn't be any problem. If it was 2, then Xiaoqin wouldn't have any problems. He didn't need to care about what the poison was. He just needed to use his all-purpose yuan energy to refine it. He didn't need to waste his brain thinking about the poison's composition and medicinal properties. Chapter 480. His method of detoxification is different from normal apothecaries. He doesn't know what the poison is, but he can also detoxify it. Thinking of this, Xiao Qin immediately started to circulate his mental cultivation method and started to detoxify Xiao Yuanshan. The poison in Xiao Yuanshan's body was mobilized by Xiao Qin and entered his own body. He started to use his Yuan Qi to refine it. When this poison entered Xiao Qin's body, Xiao Qin realized that something was wrong. This poison can actually suppress one's strength. However, it can only suppress a martial artist's strength. Xiao Qin is not a martial artist, so this poison has no effect on him. He can just directly refine it. Xiao Hai doesn't know what the white fox is doing, but he doesn't dare to make a sound. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, nervously stood at the side and stared at Xiao Qin and Xiao Yuanshan. As for Xiao Yuanshan, he already knows that the white fox is helping him detoxify the poison. However, he can't figure out why the white fox can detoxify the poison out of thin air. What method did he use? Even a devil cultivator has never heard of someone who can directly use devil qi to detoxify poison. Even if he absorbed the poison, isn't he afraid of being poisoned to death? However, Xiao Yuanshan didn't ask too much. He was afraid that if he opened his mouth, he would disturb the white fox. He could only let it do as it pleases. After a while, about half an hour later, Xiao Qin cleansed the poison in Xiao Yuanshan's body. However, Xiao Yuanshan's body was already very weak from the poison. He needs to recuperate. This is not something that Xiao Qin can do with Yuan Qi. However, Xiao Qin's medicinal dregs can be used. He can take a bit every day to temper his body and train. He believes that he will quickly return to normal and his strength will also increase by another level. Alright, there's no problem. Grandpa Xiao, the poison in your body has been detoxified. Don't compare me with those half-baked apothecaries. You should have confidence in me. Xiao Qin stood up and stretched his arms as he said, "Ah, it's done?" Xiao Hai looked at Xiao Qin in shock. His face was filled with disbelief. "Xiao Hai, I really feel that there's no problem." Xiao Yuanshan sat up and waved his fists. He felt that his body was extremely relaxed. "Thank you, Hero White Fox." Once Xiao Hai saw that his father was really fine, he was extremely excited and immediately knelt down to Xiao Qin. The Xiao family will never forget Hero White Fox's great kindness. Don't. Xiao Qin was shocked and quickly supported Xiao Hai. "You are my elder, don't be like this." But Xiao Hai felt that at this moment, he was already unable to use words to thank Xiao Qin for his kindness. "No buts. I'll go and see if Apothecary's son is back." Actually, Xiao Qin had been using his divine sense to keep an eye on the outside. Medicine Master's son hadn't returned yet, but he didn't want Xiao Qin to say some words of gratitude and kneel at the slightest provocation. This made Xiao Qin feel very uncomfortable, so it was better for him to leave first. Xiao Qin returned to the living room and found a chair to sit down. He closed his eyes and waited for the Sun family to arrive. In Xiao Yuanshan's room, Xiao Hai still hadn't recovered from his previous excitement. He looked at his father, who seemed to be fine, and felt like he was dreaming. "Father, this Hero White Fox is really our Xiao family's great benefactor." I couldn't tell that Xiao Qin had unknowingly grown up. Xiao Yuanshan sighed. "I didn't expect that in the end, it was still his friend who saved our Xiao family." "Yes, but why isn't Xiao Qin here?" Xiao Hai was surprised and suddenly thought of Xiao Qin. Logically speaking, if White Fox was here, why wasn't Xiao Qin here? With Xiao Qin and White Fox's relationship, even if it was the Qing family, they wouldn't dare to say anything, right? Moreover, this time the Xiao family was completely disappointed in the Qing family. It wasn't that the Xiao family didn't contact the Qing family, but Qing Zhongfan was hesitant, saying that he had to report to Old Master Qing and so on. In any case, he just delayed as long as he could and didn't have any intention of helping the Xiao family. Even Qing Mingqiang, who often came to find Xiao Xiao, didn't come even once. This made the Xiao family really disappointed and almost shed all pretense of cordiality. Maybe it's not good for him to come out. Xiao Yuanshan thought about it and said, after all, his current identity is Minjing's servant. If he rashly returned to the Xiao family, it might affect him. Xiao Hai nodded. However, it was a pity that Xiao Qin didn't come back to see such a great moment for the Xiao family. After waiting for a while, the Sun family didn't come. This made Xiao Qin slightly puzzled. 4 Sun Xiaonong, Sun Yuming and Sun Yoli were his sons. Sun Yukai was just an outsider. Leaving his 2 sons here, did he not want them anymore? In fact, Sun Xiaonong didn't want them anymore. After Sun Yukai returned, he told Sun Xiaonong everything that happened to the Xiao family. Sun Xiaonong was shocked and frowned. He didn't expect that White Fox would intervene. Not only did he intervene, he even gave the Sun family so many difficult conditions. If the Sun family gave all the business to the Xiao family and spit out all the money, what would happen to the Sun family in the future? The Sun family couldn't even be an ordinary family anymore. They could only rely on working outside to make a living. How could Sun Xiaonong, who was originally high up, accept this? Sun Xiaonong, Sun Yukai, and Sun Yumao sat in the Sun family's conference room. Looking at the empty conference room, Sun Xiaonong couldn't help but sigh. Originally, the Sun family was prosperous. Although the second and third generation were fighting for power, at least there were people fighting, right? But now, Sun Xiaonong wanted to choose a person in charge of the Sun family but couldn't. The people were basically all dead. White Fox, this old man hates you. Uncle, what should we do? We can't just hold on like this, right? Yuming and Yoli are still in the Xiao family. Medicine Master Sun looked at Sun Xiaonong, who didn't speak for a long time and couldn't help but remind him. AI. Sun Xiaonong sighed helplessly and asked, Yumao, how much money does our Sun family have now? How many properties do we have? Including the 300 million we cheated from the Xiao family, we have a total of 500 million. As for properties, in addition to the Sun family's mansion, there are also a few shops. The total value is also about 500 million. Our family now has 1 billion. Sun Yumao said. Let's do it this way. We will return 300 million to the Xiao family. We will give the properties and shops to the Xiao family. We will secretly keep 200 million and then leave Songning City overnight to develop in other cities. Sun Xiaonong thought for a while and said, That's fine, but can the Xiao family believe it if it's only 300 million? The money originally belonged to the Xiao family. If we return it, the Xiao family won't think that we don't have a penny, right? Sun Yukai hesitated for a while and said. In fact, he really didn't want to leave. He now had a position in the warriors' market. If he wanted money, the salary was not low. If he left, he would really be nothing. Even if he relied on a foreign family, his position would certainly not be as good as before. Previously, we said that we relied on the Xiao family because we had nowhere else to go. Now that we say this, the Xiao family might not believe us. Sun Xiaonong said, All right. Now, Yukai, immediately take these land deeds and bank deposits to the Xiao family. Bring Mingming and Yuli back. Yes. Medicine Master Sun nodded. He took the bank card and land deeds and left the Sun family for the Xiao family. However, halfway there, Alchemist Sun rolled his eyes and hesitated. He had worked hard for the Sun family all these years, not to mention that he had contributed a lot to the Sun family's development. Now that the Sun family was finished, he would be finished along with it. Being forced to leave his hometown meant that his social status would drop all of a sudden. Thinking up to this point, Medicine Master Sun decided not to go to the Xiao family. These land deeds could not be converted into cash, so he casually threw them in the car and went to the bank with his bank card. He quickly opened an account and transferred 300 million yuan over. Then he abandoned the car and fled. He got on a long-distance bus to Lan City. It was not that he had to go to Lan City. He just saw a bus at random and boarded it without much thought. After getting on the bus, Medicine Master Sun heaved a sigh of relief. Even if he stopped working, this 300 million yuan would be enough for him to spend. Moreover, he still had his alchemy skills. Of course, it was definitely not comparable to before. White Fox, this is all your fault. After waiting for a long time, Xiaoqin finally became a little impatient. He kicked Sun Yukai awake and said, Son, did your Sun family abandon you? Why hasn't anyone come to give you money after so long? If you don't want to live, then forget it. I'll fulfill your wish. Sun Yukai had just woken up and was at a loss. He looked at Xiaoqin in shock. After a long time, he reacted and said, No, I'll call my father. Wait, don't kill us. Sun Yukai quickly took out his phone and dialed Sun Xiaonong's number. He said anxiously, Dad, what's going on? Are you not going to agree to Hero White Fox's request? Yuli and I are here. He wants to kill us. Sun Yukai knew that White Fox really dared to kill them. He was not joking. Sun Yukai didn't go? He has been gone for an hour. He should be here. Sun Xiaonong said curiously. What, an hour? Then he must be here. It took him at most an hour to drive here. Sun Yukai was also a little puzzled. Is there a traffic jam on the road? I'm not sure. You can contact him. I'll ask him to bring the Sun family's land deeds and savings, Sun Xiaonong said. It's a blessing that you two can come back safely. Okay, I'll contact him. Sun Yukai nodded. After hanging up the phone, he quickly dialed Sun Yotsai's number. However, on the other side of the phone, there was a cold female voice. This was the prompt tone of the phone being turned off. This made Sun Yotsai's heart suddenly turn cold. Chapter 481. He had a bad feeling. He quickly called back Sun Xiaonong's phone and said anxiously, "Father, Medicine Master Sun's phone is turned off. Can you check if the deposits are still there?" "What? Turned off?" Sun Xiaonong's heart sank. He quickly logged into the online bank. As a result, he checked and found that all the deposits had been transferred. There was not a penny left. All of a sudden, Sun Xiaonong had a feeling that the sky was dark. Sun Yukai absconded with the money? This was the only possibility. Otherwise, why did he withdraw the money? "Father, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking?" Sun Yuming asked quickly. "It's over. The money is gone. Sun Yukai, the little bastard, took it. There's not a penny left." Sun Xiaonong yelled, "I think he has run away. What should I do?" Sun Yuming suddenly felt sad. Without money, would White Fox let him go? He would vent his anger on him. "Don't worry. I'll ask someone to look for it." After Sun Xiaonong finished speaking, he hung up the phone and arranged people. On the other side, Sun Yuming was holding the phone in a daze. He looked at Xiao Chen and said helplessly, "Hero White Fox, Medicine Master Sun absconded with the money." "I absconded? Then let Sun Xiaonong chase after him. Don't worry. Without money and property you will die miserably. I will kill your father too," Xiao Chen said coldly. However, Xiao Chen secretly admired Medicine Master Sun's decisiveness. He actually turned around and left. What a talent. Soon there was news from Sun Xiaonong's side. They found Sun Yotsai's car. It was parked in front of the bank and hadn't been moved. There was a title deed inside, but the money was gone. However, without money, could White Fox let him go? Sun Xiaonong had no choice. He took out his remaining 200 million yuan and brought the title deed to the Xiao family. Once upon a time, he had fantasized that one day, he would be able to proudly step into this mansion and become the owner of this place. But now, forget about being the owner, he couldn't even be considered a guest. He was just a pitiful worm that had come to redeem someone. "Did you catch Medicine Master Sun?" Xiao Chen looked at Sun Xiaonong and asked. "No, but he threw the title deed in the car. I brought it with me. As for the deposit..." Sun Xiaonong lowered his head. "Okay, don't talk about these useless things. I don't believe that you gave all the money to Yukai. You didn't keep anything for yourself? Why don't I believe it?" Xiao Chen waved his hand and said directly, "Take out the rest of your things. I'll settle the score with Sun Yukai." "Yes." Sun Xiaonong's forehead suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. It seemed that White Fox was not stupid. He had already guessed that he had hidden some money. It seemed that the 200 million he had prepared was very useful. He quickly took it out and said, "It's not that I didn't want to give you this 200 million, but it's a fixed deposit. If I withdraw it, there will be no interest. I was also afraid of bringing losses to great hero White Fox. I was planning to give it to you when it's due, but if you want it now, I'll transfer it to you." Xiao Chen glanced at him indifferently and didn't say anything more. He just said, "Turn it over. You can write a transfer declaration on the deed of the land and you can leave with your 2 sons. Remember to keep a low profile in the future. I'm a kind-hearted person. I'll let you go and get a black-bellied one. He'll take your money and then kill you." "Yes, yes." Sun Xiaonong nodded repeatedly. He knew that what Xiao Chen said was the truth. Some people were indeed like that. They wanted money, but they also wanted their lives. White Fox was already considered a good person. After writing the statement, Sun Xiaonong took his 2 sons and left the Xiao family with their tails between their legs. Xiao Chen sighed. He had lost 300 million for no reason at all. How unlucky. However, with these industries and 200 million yuan of funds, the Xiao family could be revived and revitalized. Especially with the cooperation with the Xie family, no bank would come to collect the debt. They would try to rope in the Xiao family. After settling the matter with the Xiao family, Xiao Chen knew that it was time for him to leave. Although this was his home, he couldn't stay. He hadn't found the mastermind. Xiao Chen had to be as cautious as ever. Xiao Chen walked to Xiao Yuanshan's room with the land deed and bank card. At this time, Xiao Hai and Xiao Xiao hadn't left yet. They were chatting with Xiao Yuanshan. The whole family was very excited and happy. "White Fox, you're back." Xiao Hai saw Xiao Chen and immediately stood up respectfully. The Sun family brought 200 million in cash and the land deed of all their properties. These belonged to the Xiao family. Xiao Chen didn't say anything about Sun Yukai because there was no need. The Xiao family wouldn't be able to do anything if they knew. They really gave us the money? Xiao Hai was stunned. Although the Xiao family was cheated of more than 300 million in his opinion, it was worth it to get back 200 million and some land deeds. After all, land deeds were worth a lot of money. And the land deeds are here. This is the statement from the Sun family. Also, I asked him to transfer the 200 million to Xiao Chen's bank card. It's here. You can take it out and use it. The password is his birthday. Xiao Chen passed the land deeds, statement and bank card to Xiao Hai. Thank you for your help, White Fox. I know that you won't do it for free. Then how much of the Xiao family's profit should I give to you? Xiao Hai felt that White Fox wouldn't help for no reason. Now that the Xiao family had a profit, he naturally had to give some of it. After all, this was all White Fox's credit. Uncle Xiao, you think too much. I came here purely to help. I don't want it. You can also take all of the Xie family's profits in the future. I don't want it either. Xiao Chen said solemnly. How can I do that? Xiao Hai was a little stunned. He didn't expect White Fox to be so generous. Why was he so good to the Xiao family? Alright, it's time for me to leave. I'll bring some medicinal herbs for Grandpa Xiao next time. After he consumes them, his body will become better and better. Xiao Chen said, I'll take my leave first today. You're leaving just like that? White Fox, why don't you stay for dinner before leaving? Xiao Hai quickly tried to keep him. No. Xiao Chen waved his hand. Grandpa Xiao, Uncle Xiao, I will leave first. If that's the case, then I will send you off. Xiao Hai said with some regret. Dad, I will send you off. You should hurry up and deal with these land deeds. Xiao Xiao said, it's best to find a lawyer to transfer the ownership as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the Sun family causes some trouble again, it won't be good. This is also good. Xiao Hai was slightly stunned. He didn't understand why Xiao Xiao would take the initiative to send White Fox off, but he still agreed. Xiao Qin and Xiao Xiao walked out of Xiao Yuanshan's villa one after another. Outside the villa, looking at the familiar courtyard, Xiao Chen was a little emotional. I don't know when I can return here again. After passing by the small villa that he used to live in, Xiao Chen thought of the days and nights he trained hard every day and night. That was an unforgettable period of time. He thirsted for strength, thirsted for more than 10 years. He didn't expect that when he was about to be disappointed, he would obtain it. Life is really wonderful. Sometimes when you are desperately pursuing it, you just don't get it. But when you are about to give up, there is a glimmer of hope. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen slowed down his footsteps. A pair of warm little hands suddenly wrapped around Xiao Chen's waist. Then Xiao Chen felt a soft body sticking to his back. This made Xiao Chen suddenly shocked. He subconsciously wanted to avoid it. He knew who this was. This was definitely Xiao Xiao without a doubt. He didn't understand why Xiao Xiao would suddenly hug him. Could it be that my performance just now was too domineering and Xiao Xiao developed a love for me? This made Xiao Chen a little dumbfounded. Perhaps the Qing family and Qing Mingxiang's reaction disappointed Xiao Xiao. Therefore, when she saw him dealing with the Xiao family's affairs, she developed a good impression of him. It was reasonable for a girl of this age to have a good impression of those powerful young talents. However, it wasn't Xiao Xiao's style to be so bold and stick to him. However, just as Xiao Chen wanted to push Xiao Xiao away, Xiao Xiao softly murmured, "Brother?" Xiao Chen's entire body stiffened. He widened his eyes in disbelief. Xiao Xiao recognized me? How is this possible? Brother, I'm so happy. It really is you. Xiao Xiao was still muttering to herself. You finally have the ability and you are so powerful. Xiao Chen this time he was 100% sure that Xiao Xiao must have recognized him. No wonder Xiao Xiao was so bold and dared to hug him from behind. It turned out that she already knew that he was her brother. However, at this moment Xiao Chen didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to explain. He was suddenly exposed by the Xiao family. He wasn't mentally prepared yet. Xiao Hai, coming out of Xiao Yuanshan's villa, prepared to find a lawyer to discuss the land deed. However, just as he walked out of the villa, he saw Xiao Xiao hugging White Fox not far away. Xiao Hai was incomparably shocked. He wanted to call out to Xiao Xiao, but he suddenly shut his mouth. Thinking about it, White Fox was a hero. It was normal for girls to admire him. Perhaps Xiao Xiao knew that the Xiao family didn't need to rely on the Qing family anymore, so she went to pursue her own happiness? Thinking about it, although White Fox already had a girlfriend, to be honest, he was also a descendant of an aristocratic family. He was more open-minded about this kind of thing. If Xiao Xiao liked him, then he didn't have much of an opinion. After all, White Fox's ability was there. So, thinking about this, Xiao Hai didn't disturb her. Instead, he turned around and left quietly, taking a detour to leave. Let's talk in my room. Xiao Qin returned to his original voice and pointed to the side, to his former villa. Let's go to my room. If others see it, they will be suspicious. You don't want others to know your identity, right? Xiao Xiao said considerately. Chapter 482. All right. Xiao Qin nodded. Xiao Xiao's villa was not far away. Xiao Xiao let go of him and went to her villa with him. Brother, why are you so powerful now? When Xiao Xiao entered the villa, she couldn't help but shout excitedly, the white fox is actually you. It's incredible. Xiao Qin took off the white fox mask and nodded. It's me. But Xiao Xiao, how did you find me? I feel that there should be no problem with my disguise. My voice and so on have changed. Some small details such as the tone of speech, habits, etc., these haven't changed. Xiao Xiao said. Don't forget we have lived together for so many years. Dad and Grandpa may not have noticed, but I did. Okay, but Xiao Xiao, you have some power. Your brother has power, so you pay attention to me. Previously, you ignored me and even helped Cheng Meng to bully me. Xiao Qin smiled. Originally, Xiao Qin was just joking, but he didn't expect Xiao Xiao's face to turn cold and become a little ugly. Xiao Xiao, what's wrong with you? Xiao Qin saw Xiao Xiao's face change and he was suddenly stunned. Nothing. Yes, I am so snobbish. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao snorted and was a little angry. Isn't Xin Jingxian the same? When you pursued her so much, she ignored you. In the end, you became powerful and she came to you and even begged you to do this and that. When the Xin family has problems, you have to solve it. Why don't you talk to her? Xiao Qin didn't understand why Xiao Xiao suddenly talked about Xin Jingxian. He couldn't help but be dumbfounded. How can this be the same? It is the same. Xiao Xiao said. She is my lover and you are my sister. She didn't know me before, but you. Xiao Qin said with a bitter face. Forget it. Xiao Xiao shook her head. Come and see me when you have time. I'm tired and need to rest. You can go now. Xiao Qin was a little baffled. Xiao Xiao was still fine earlier and looked very happy. Why did she suddenly become unhappy all of a sudden? However, Xiao Qin really had to go back, so he didn't say anything more. Anyway, he didn't need to be so polite with his sister. He nodded and said, okay. I'll go first. I'll come and see you next time. Okay. Xiao Xiao nodded. Xiao Qin put on his mask and walked out of Xiao Xiao's villa. He went to the parking lot and drove back to Xiao Xiao's villa. Xiao Xiao stood by the window, and her eyes became a little blurred as she watched Qin of the villa. When they were about to reach the villa, Xiao Qin removed his mask again. He recalled Xiao Xiao's words. She could tell that there was something wrong with him, but what about the others? The eldest miss didn't notice it, but Jean Bebe seemed to be a little suspicious. From the looks of it, he had indeed revealed some flaws when he wasn't paying attention, and because most of the people around him weren't familiar with Xiao Qin, they didn't see the problem. However, those who were familiar with him had a problem. Therefore, Xiao Qin felt that it was necessary for him to be more careful in case someone saw through him. His face could now transform into other forms for a long time. However, there was a limit to how long he could do it, and it would consume his true qi. It would be great if he could have a human skin mask that could change his appearance. However, this was only a legendary item. Xiao Qin had never heard of anyone possessing such a mask. After he returned to the villa, he saw that Cheng Minjing, Jean Bebe, and Yi Xiaoye were eating instant noodles at the dining table. Obviously, since Xiao Qin was not back, they could only have instant noodles. What? Xiao Qin, did you come back by yourself? Cheng Minjing was a little surprised to see Xiao Qin. Xiao family is in trouble. Do you know that? Yes, I know. White Fox went to solve it for me, Xiao Qin said. It's all right now. Oh, it's him. Cheng Minjing nodded. White Fox is loyal to his friends. However, you send Jingxian back to the Xin family in the middle of the night. It's normal for him to help you. By the way, Jingxian went to a demonic sect called the Heavenly Fox sect to cultivate. Do you know that? Yes. Alas, I didn't expect that my goddess would leave like this. Xiao Qin sighed. How dare you call her goddess? If White Fox heard that, he would not only not help you but also come to kill you, Cheng Minjing snorted. White Fox is not that boring. Don't think so badly of people. Yi Xiaoye said coldly. I'm talking. What does it have to do with you? Cheng Minjing was a little unhappy. Yi Xiaoye always liked to interrupt and refute her. I'm talking to Xiao Qin. Why do you always like to interrupt? This house is shared by everyone. Why can't we talk? Yi Xiaoya shrugged indifferently. Cousin Menjing, let her be proud for a few days. I think she will cry in a few days. Jin Beibei said proudly. Cheng Menjing was a little curious as to why Yi Xiaoya would cry, but Jin Beibei obviously had an idea. Yi Xiaoya frowned. Jin Beibei was a smart girl. She had to be careful not to make trouble for her. Suddenly she thought of the devil centipede fruit that was missing in the yard. Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen and said, "By the way, Xiao Chen, have you seen my devil centipede fruit? You lost it and you are still asking about this and that. Are you done?" Jin Beibei said unhappily. "I was the one who took this one." Xiao Chen admitted it straightforwardly. White Fox said that he needed the devil centipede fruit to treat Xin Jingshuan's grandpa. He told me that he saw it in the yard. So, I took it and took it with me. I left in a hurry and didn't tell you. I see. Yi Xiaoya was slightly dazed. She hesitated for a moment and said, "All right. But you have to tell me next time. Otherwise I will think that I lost it." "All right." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Is the devil centipede fruit very precious? Do you want me to compensate you?" "Forget it." Yi Xiaoya shook her head and went upstairs. White Fox had not asked her for dual training for a few days. Once she tried it, she would not be able to stop. It was like a drug addiction. The feeling of gaining strength quickly made Yi Xiaoya excited and tempted. Although they had to be honest with each other every time, she had gotten used to it after a long time. Xiao Chen sat in Yi Xiaoya's previous seat. Watching the eldest mistress and Jin Beibei eating instant noodles, he said, "I'm sorry, Menjing. I was out for something these days and didn't cook for you." Actually, Yi Xiaoya is right. You don't owe me anything. Cheng Menjing shook her head and said, "You used to be my fiancé but not anymore. I don't have the right to ask you to do this or that. It's unfair to you. I didn't pay you to be my servant." "Ah?" The eldest mistress's words surprised Xiao Chen. He did not expect the eldest mistress to say such things. Actually, he had always been patient with the eldest mistress because the identity of his fiancé in the past did not bring any glory to the eldest mistress. Instead, it was a burden and humiliation. When Xiao Chen was mentioned, everyone would tease her and feel that she had married a good-for-nothing. However, it would be fine if this good-for-nothing liked her and treated her well. But this good-for-nothing just had to like Xin Jingshan and pursue Kerlin. Who would be happy if they were in her shoes? Now that he thought about it, Xiao Chen felt that he only considered himself at the beginning and did not consider Cheng Menjing's feelings. It was really wrong. Now, whether he was with Xin Jingshan, Tang Tang, or Lu Shuangshuang, what he brought to them was glory and pride. Thinking about Xin Jingshuan's pride in the Xin family, Tang Tang's respect by Yu Shaochuan, and Lu Shuangshuang's vanity at the class reunion, what did the eldest mistress get? Therefore, no matter how domineering and unruly the eldest mistress was to him, all he could think of was to make it up to her as much as possible. Xiao Chen would not have any complaints. This was not meekness, but a kind of compensation as a fiancé. "It doesn't matter. I'm willing." Xiao Chen said, "I'm sorry, Menjing. In fact, as your fiancé, I didn't care about your feelings and let you be looked down upon by others. It's my fault. So, I'll try my best to make it up to you." Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen in surprise. She did not expect that he would say these things. She had just said it spontaneously. "Menjing, don't worry. As long as you don't drive me away, I'll always stay here," said Xiao Chen. "Great, great." Jin Beibei, however, was very happy. "Cousin-in-law, are you going to pursue cousin Menjing again because sister Jingshan is gone and your dream of being a goddess is broken?" Haha. Xiao Chen smiled and did not say anything. "I'm going to brew medicine to practice." At night, Xiao Chen, wearing the white fox mask, tiptoed upstairs and came to the door of Yi Xiaoya's room. When he opened the door, Yi Xiaoya sat up on the bed alertly. It turned out that she was not practicing but resting on the bed. "Who's there?" "It's me, the white fox," said Xiao Chen. "You're here." Yi Xiaoya saw the white fox and was a little angry. "Where have you been these days? My cultivation progress has slowed down." "I've been to the Xin family, haven't I?" Xiao Chen said. "By the way, I've taken one devil grain fruit. There's still one left. Can I take it tomorrow?" Xiao Chen's medicine could only be brewed once more today. He could not use it tomorrow. Therefore, he needed one more devil grain fruit tomorrow, which could only be found in Yi Xiaoya's yard. "No." Yi Xiaoya shook her head decisively. "I have a great use for it." "What use do you have?" Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. "When I'm injured, I eat one. It can reduce the pain." Otherwise I might not be able to survive. Yi Xiaoya said, if you take it to treat Shen Jingshuan's grandfather, it should have the same effect, right? Chapter 483. More or less. Did you only plant 2 stalks of devil centipede fruit? Is there nothing else? Xiaoqin said, unwilling to give up. And just 2 stalks. Yi Xiaoya said, what do you want it for? I need this herb to concoct some potions to level up. Xiaoqin said, but if it's useful to you then forget it. It's already early winter. If I plant it again it definitely won't be able to survive. Although I still have seeds I have to wait until next year. Yi Xiaoya said, and after the devil centipede fruit is picked, if it isn't used as medicine within 24 hours, it will lose its effects. You should know this, so it's basically impossible to buy. The sects that need it will plant it themselves. You still have seeds? Xiaoqin was stunned. Then give me some seeds. I'll find someone to plant it. You find someone to plant it? Do you know someone who can plant this kind of seed in this season? Yi Xiaoya was somewhat puzzled. Don't tell me to plant it in a greenhouse. That won't work. Don't you know why the devil centipede fruit is called devil centipede fruit? Yang means that it emits sunlight. In other words, it needs direct sunlight to grow. If it's kept in a greenhouse it won't work. It's fine. I can plant it in your flower bed. Xiaoqin said, and you know the person who can plant it. He's my little brother, Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin found an excuse for himself. Because of his white fox identity, it wasn't good for him to plant it in the courtyard. If he planted the devil centipede fruit, he would inevitably come to take care of it. However, if Qing Menjing found out, it would be hard to explain. It was better to say that Xiaoqin knew how to plant it. This way Yi Xiaoya and Qing Menjing wouldn't be suspicious. Xiaoqin? He knows how to plant the devil centipede fruit? Really? Yi Xiaoya was somewhat shocked. Xiaoqin knew how to plant herbs? How could she not know? You should know that he can't cultivate to become a martial artist because of his physique. Therefore he has been searching for medicinal herbs that can change his physique since he was young. He has a deep understanding of medicinal herbs, and some medicinal herbs can't be bought. He can only get seeds, so he planted and cultivated them himself. That's how he learned the ability to cultivate medicinal herbs. Xiaoqin spouted nonsense. If that's the case. Yi Xiaoya felt that it made sense. She nodded. Okay, then I will give you 2 seeds. Let him try planting them. Although they are seeds, the price is not low. Okay. Xiaoqin happily agreed. Then hurry up and take off your clothes. I can't wait. Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiaoqin and said anxiously. Okay. Xiaoqin felt that Yi Xiaoya was like a female pervert. After a night of silence, Xiaoqin found that although the speed of dual cultivation with Yi Xiaoya was fast, it wasn't as fast as Lu Shuangshuang. But, since Lu Shuangshuang had the physique of a human cauldron, would it be the same as Shen Jingxian? If he used it too many times, would his yin yuan be sucked dry and he would die? Thinking of this, Xiaoqin couldn't help but ask Elder Heaven Ancestor. Elder Heaven Ancestor, Lu Shuangshuang's physique is different from Shen Jingshuan's, right? She won't have a problem, right? Also, why didn't you tell me about Shen Jingshuan's special physique? I wanted to stop you, but you told me to mind my own business and let me rest for a while. Elder Heaven Ancestor said innocently. But this is a matter of life and death. What if Jingshuan's life is in danger? Xiaoqin said anxiously. Don't worry with me here, how could she die? Elder Heaven Ancestor said, in the end she will be fine. At most her physique will be destroyed. Xiaoqin wanted to say that since it was so good, he should ask Shen Jingxian to come back and stop cultivating. But after hearing Elder Heaven Ancestor's last sentence, he gave up. Shen Jingshuan's physique had its advantages and disadvantages. Her cultivation speed would be very fast. When she becomes a martial master, even if her appearance wouldn't stay forever, her aging would slow down. This was a good thing for both Xiaoqin and Shen Jingxian. Otherwise, in just a few decades, Shen Jingshuan's youth would be gone. Moreover, Xiaoqin still wanted to cultivate with her. She would become an ordinary person without a physique, which was not what Xiaoqin wanted to see. Early in the morning, Xiaoqin used his original appearance to plant the devil spear fruit in the flower garden. Most of these special herbs could resist the cold in winter, but that was after they grew up. If they hadn't germinated yet, it was absolutely impossible to germinate in winter. But Xiaoqin didn't worry about this. He planted 2 devil spear fruit seeds in an open space in the flower garden and began to stimulate the vitality of the devil spear fruit. Yi Xiaoya also woke up very early. After she finished dual cultivating with the white fox, she consolidated her strength. Then she came to the flower garden to start watering her herbs. Then she saw Xiaochen. She never expected that Xiaochen would really wake up early to plant the devil spear fruit for the white fox. The relationship between the two of them was really good. Yi Xiaoya also found it a little strange. In the past, Xiaochen was said to be very infatuated with Shen Jingxian. Why was his relationship with the white fox so good now that Shen Jingxian was with the white fox? Good morning, Xiaochen. Are you planting the devil spear fruit? Yi Xiaoya asked. Yes. Xiaochen nodded. If you need any medicinal herbs, you can find me to help you grow them. My skills are better than yours. Yi Xiaoya was taken aback. She thought to herself that Xiaochen was really not modest at all. However, these herbs of hers basically had a low survival rate. Not to mention planting them in winter, even if they were planted in spring or summer, it would not be easy for them to germinate. The chances were only half and half. What? You don't believe me? Xiaochen smiled slightly. A little. I've never heard of anyone who can plant these herbs in winter. Even the Myriad Herbs Gate can't do it, Yi Xiaoya said. Myriad Herbs Gate? Xiaochen was taken aback. Yes, it's a sect that specializes in growing and selling medicinal herbs. However, they mainly sell seeds and finished medicinal herbs. They basically don't sell them at retail. They sell them wholesale to large organizations like the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Yi Xiaoya said. I see. Then this sect seems to be making a lot of money? Xiaochen asked. Of course. However, there are some precious medicinal herbs that are out of season. If they can be cultivated, the price will be even higher. After all, many medicinal herbs can't be stored for a long time. The devil spear fruit has a short lifespan, but some of them can't grow much longer. They only have a few months' worth of medicinal effects. This way, the out-of-season medicinal herbs are especially valuable. Yi Xiaoya said, if they could cultivate them, they would have done so long ago. Half of these medicinal herbs have to be plucked before it snows. They can't withstand the cold. The devil spear fruit is one of them. Oh, how much can the out-of-season medicinal herbs be sold for? Xiaochen asked casually. 10 to 20 times the normal price. If it's some special ones such as the devil spear fruit, it can be sold for 50 times the normal price. People might still want them. Yi Xiaoya said, the problem is they don't have them. There's no market for them. I see. Xiaochen nodded. After transferring his primordial qi to the seeds of the devil spear fruit, he prepared to go to school. Then I'll go to school first. I've made breakfast. I've saved one for you. Okay, thank you. Yi Xiaoya nodded. However, she didn't expect that Xiaochen could successfully cultivate the spiritual herbs. The 2 seeds weren't very expensive. Even if he failed, she could afford it. After the young mistress and Jean Bebe had breakfast, Xiaochen drove them to number 2 high school. At the entrance of number 2 high school, Xiaochen was surprised to see Xiao Xiao. Qing Mingxiang followed behind her and seemed to be explaining something. However, Xiao Xiao didn't seem to be listening. She walked in front and ignored him. When she saw Xiaochen getting out of the car, she was slightly stunned. However, she ignored him and continued walking forward quickly. This stunned Xiaochen. Logically speaking, Xiao Xiao should have recognized him yesterday and knew that he was the white fox. Why did she ignore him? In the past, he felt embarrassed. But now, looking at Xiao Xiao's back and Qing Mingxiang behind her, Xiaochen seemed to think of something. However, he wasn't sure. When he arrived at the classroom, Song Huawu was already there. She was reading a book in her seat. This made Xiaochen a little puzzled. Was Song Huawu really here to study? When she saw Xiaochen, Song Huawu put her book aside and was a little surprised. You're back so soon? There's nothing else over there, so I came back. Right, what happened to Zheng Jiba? Asked Xiaochen. He was arrested. Naturally, he will be punished. Song Huawu said, I don't know the details. I'm only responsible for arresting people. Someone else will do the investigation. Is there anything strange about that Xiaoen's? Asked Xiaochen. Yes, he went to find Yang Jianan. I don't know what he said, but it definitely wasn't anything good. It should be something bad about you. Song Huawu said, in short, be careful. Yang Jianan wants to deal with you. He hasn't given up. What a troublesome guy. Xiaochen frowned slightly and said, right, what is Yang Jianan's strength? You want to have a conflict with him? Forget it. On the one hand, his identity is there. You are in the wrong no matter what. Song Huawu said, the crime of attacking a public official of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau is very serious for a martial artist. Moreover, his strength isn't low. As far as I know, he should be above the 10th level of inner force. As for how much, I don't know. So strong? Xiaoqun really didn't expect Yang Jian'an's strength to be so high, but he could really endure it. He didn't use force against him. Obviously, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau must have a rule that they couldn't attack ordinary people. Yes, so I advise you not to go against him. Avoid him. Anyway, I'll leave when I'm done here. Song Huawu said, when I'm gone, he will forget about you. Okay. Xiaoqun nodded. If this Yang Tan didn't provoke him, he wouldn't do anything to him. It would be like this. However, Yang Tan's strength really made Xiaoqun a little afraid. In the first class, the homeroom teacher, Miss Wang, walked into the classroom and announced the news of the basketball match. After an agreement with No. 1 Middle School, it was scheduled to be held tomorrow at noon in the stadium of No. 1 Middle School. Chapter 484. In the class, the selected team members were Xiaoqun, Ma Gangmen, Zheng Xiaoquan, Xia Shibin, and Yang Tan. Unexpectedly, all 5 of them were from Class 1. It was a miracle for Class 1, which was not good at sports in the past. Although Yang Tan's playing skills weren't that great, the PE teacher really couldn't find anyone who played better than him. From the PE teacher's point of view, this time the 5 of them were on the same team. Yang Tan couldn't possibly scheme against Xiaoqun anymore. His methods should be used on the opponent, and these methods were sometimes very effective. This time, the PE teacher obviously hoped that No. 2 high school could get a good result. In previous years, No. 1 high school had the upper hand in every competition, but this time they should be able to turn the situation around. Because all the players from No. 2 high school were from Class 1, No. 2 high school decided that only the students from Class 1 would go to No. 1 high school. The other students could participate voluntarily. Anyway, after class at noon tomorrow, there would be 2 tourist buses parked at the school gate. The students who wanted to go could get on them voluntarily. One bus was prepared for Class 1, and the other bus would be taken randomly. Thinking about it, his last basketball game in No. 1 high school was actually played in front of Xin Jingxian. However, he was tricked by Qin Jinping, which made him lose face in front of Goddess Shen. This time, Xiaoqun wanted to play in front of Xin Jingxian. However, she was gone. Sometimes life was really strange. Although Xiaoqun didn't need to show anything in front of Xin Jingxian, it was also an obsession that he didn't complete in the past. When he got home in the evening, Xiaoqun's devil scorpion fruit had not grown yet. However, because he urgently needed medicinal materials to make medicine, Xiaoqun could only steal Yi Xiaoya's last devil scorpion fruit. Anyway, Xiaoqun was confident that his devil scorpion fruit would grow, so he didn't tell Yi Xiaoya. After boiling the medicinal materials, Xiaoqun began to cook dinner for Cheng Menjing, Jin Beibei, and Yi Xiaoya. After dinner, Yi Xiaoya subconsciously went to the yard to check her medicinal materials. However, she found that the devil grain fruit was lost again. She was instantly shocked. Xiaoqun, did you see my devil scorpion fruit? Yi Xiaoya exclaimed. It was taken away by Hero White Fox. Xiaoqun said, he needs it urgently. I'll compensate you when my devil centipede fruit grows. Yi Xiaoya was very angry, but she also knew that it was Arctic Fox who did it. It had nothing to do with Xiaoqun. She couldn't vent her anger on Xiaoqun. She could only helplessly turn around and go upstairs. Xiaoqun looked at her angry look and thought, this Yi Xiaoya wouldn't wait for me to find her in the middle of the night and then kick me to death, right? On second thought, it was possible. I'll go back to my room first, said Xiaoqun. You. Yi Xiaoya stamped her feet in anger, but there was nothing she could do. It was useless to blame Xiaoqun. It was Arctic Fox who took them away. Xiaoqun was at most an accomplice. Jin Beibei was very happy to see Yi Xiaoya's frustrated look. It would be best if he stole all her medicinal materials and left none for her. At night, when Xiaoqun went to find Yi Xiaoya for dual cultivation, he got what he wanted. Yi Xiaoya took advantage of him taking off his clothes and was kicked in the chest by Yi Xiaoya. Then Xiaoqun saw something he shouldn't have seen. Stunned, he was hit and fell to the ground. Otherwise, Xiaoqun wouldn't have been hit so easily. He even suspected that Yi Xiaoya did it on purpose to distract him. But thinking about it, it was his special ability to see in the dark, and Yi Xiaoya didn't know about it. However, Yi Xiaoya didn't mention the devil scorpion fruit again. Since it had been plucked, it was useless to mention it again. After a quiet night, Xiaoqun left early and resumed his original identity. In the flower bed in the courtyard, he channeled vital energy into the seeds of the devil scorpion fruit. However, to Xiaoqun's surprise, the devil scorpion fruit had already sprouted and burst out of the soil. This speed made Xiaochen happy. It seemed that using vital energy to accelerate the ripening was very feasible. If he could make it in time, these 2 devil scorpion fruits would be enough for him to use. While Xiaochen was feeling happy, Yi Xiaoya also came down. She had finished dual cultivation with Arctic Fox and was in high spirits. She couldn't sleep anymore, so she came down. When she saw Xiaochen, she couldn't help but say, "You're really up early." "Yeah." Xiaochen nodded. "I'm done. You can continue." "Oh." Yi Xiaoya nodded. But when her gaze swept across the devil scorpion fruit in the flower bed, she was immediately surprised. "Your devil scorpion fruit actually sprouted? How is that possible?" "Why not? I already said that I'm good at cultivating medicinal herbs, but you didn't believe me." Xiaochen was a little speechless. "Now you believe me." "I believe." Although Yi Xiaoya still didn't believe it, the facts were in front of her. She couldn't help but believe it. She looked at the devil scorpion fruit seedling in the flower bed. After looking at it for a long time, she finally confirmed that it was the devil scorpion fruit. She sighed and said, "It seems to be true. But how did you do it?" "You can't learn this. What do you want to cultivate? Let me help you." Xiaochen said, "Some things can only be understood and not explained." "Eh." Yi Xiaoya nodded. In fact, what Xiaochen said was right. These things were similar to cultivation. The same mantra was given to you, but everyone's strength was different. It couldn't be solved with just words. "Can you help me plant some bitter fruit?" "I'm almost finished, but it's winter now. I can't plant them myself. If I were to buy them, the price would be too expensive." "Okay." Xiaochen nodded without hesitation. Once upon a time, the bitter fruit was something that he yearned for. Buying 1 bitter fruit cost him everything. He didn't expect that Yi Xiaoya had seeds. If he knew that he was so familiar with Yi Xiaoya, he would have asked her for it. "Okay, I'll get the seeds for you." Yi Xiaoya returned to the villa happily. After a while, she brought some bitter fruit seeds to Xiaochen. "They're here. How many can you plant at one time?" "You can plant as many as you want," Xiaochen said indifferently. The vitality needed to mature a seed was just a drop in the bucket. These medicinal herbs didn't need much spiritual energy, so Xiaochen didn't care too much. "Is all of these okay?" asked Yi Xiaoya. "Yes." Xiaochen nodded. He dug a few holes and threw the seeds of the bitter fruit into them. Then, he covered them with soil with his hands and injected vitality into the seeds of the bitter fruit. However, Yi Xiaoya was a little speechless. "Xiaochen, how can you plant medicinal herbs like this? The direction and position of the seeds, the spacing and the depth of the soil have precise numbers. How can you plant them randomly? How can they germinate? Do you know how to plant spiritual herbs or not?" "Of course, this is how I plant them. You just have to look at the results." Xiaochen was too lazy to do those things. Those could only increase the probability of the seeds germinating and breaking out of the soil. But now, with Xiaochen's input of vitality, these seeds would break out of the soil no matter what. After it was done, Xiaochen said, "Okay, I'm going to school. You can continue on your own. In fact, sometimes it's not a good thing to be too careful. Your medicinal herbs are too fragile, so it's easy for them to die." Yi Xiaoya was a little speechless. She heard that raising pets was like this, but she had never heard that planting plants was like this. Today was the day of the basketball game between number 1 middle school and number 2 middle school. At noon, Xiaochen and his classmates got on the first bus. In fact, Xiaochen played this basketball game mainly to target Qin Jinping, but Qin Jinping was already dead. The person he wanted to beat the most was Xin Jingxian, but Xin Jingxian had already left. Therefore, this basketball game made Xiaochen a little sad. Although it was true that you had to get up from where you fell, who was he playing basketball for? Suddenly, Xiaochen's gaze fell on Cheng Menjing, who was not far away. He suddenly realized something. "Yes, why did I think so much? In fact, the person I should show the most to is the Missy. She was my fiancée once." Now that he thought about it carefully, although Cheng Menjing didn't like him in number 1 middle school, she would come to watch every basketball game. Even if she didn't say a word, she would still watch from the beginning to the end. Previously, Xiaochen didn't know who she was looking at, but now that he thought about it, the Missy should be looking at him. She was a kind and conservative girl. Since she was engaged to him, perhaps she had always been paying attention to him. Although she didn't express it, it was the truth. Thinking of this, Xiaochen felt a little sad. He had hurt her again and again. Thinking about it, when he was pursuing Kerlin and Xin Jingxian, how could she not be able to lift her head? Even so, she still had to pretend that she didn't care. Even Xiao Qin felt that he was a little too much. Cousin Minjing, was your husband also this good at basketball in the past? Jean Bebe asked. She was a little uncertain now. When did Xiao Qin become so strong? Why did others call him a good-for-nothing when he was so good? If he was good in the past, why didn't he show it? If he wasn't good in the past, then when he was just kicked out of the Xiao family and moved into the villa, she already noticed that he was different, right? He was very good in number 1 middle school. Qing Minjing said. However, in the last game, Qin Jinpeng betrayed him and used some dishonorable means, so he lost. Huh? Cousin Minjing, you pay a lot of attention to my cousin-in-law? Jean Bebe asked as if she had discovered something. Not really. I was just bored and watched the game with Jing Xian. Qing Minjing said. He wanted to show off to Jing Xian, so I satisfied him. Anyway, I don't like him. Oh, what about now? Jean Bebe asked. What now? Qing Minjing was stunned. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.